for the butt? Well, look at my grass. No. Look at that grass.
Are we looking at Arz's cat now?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't hear a damn thing you said.
All right.
And cause I was a gazillionaire and I like building so much, I cut that grass for free.
The species is dying, the birth rate is plummeting, women are chopped. But yeah, you know what? Get a fucking cat.
I know even more about grass.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Touch Grass with Theo Snodgrass. I am, of course, your intrepid host, Theo Snodgrass, comedian and podcaster out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Wherever you may be, thank you for making me a part of your day. The panel is here with me today. Say hi, panel.
Hi, panel.
Hi. I cannot wait to say the N-word today.
And it's a black guy saying it too, so it's okay, right?
Yeah, this time it'll be a black guy who says it. That'll be great. So far, it's only been white women who have said the N-word on this channel. That's so far.
Fair
that's
enough.
a 100% perfect record.
Pump those numbers up, boys.
Obnoxiousness. Anyway, all right, folks. So why don't we go ahead and get started? We haven't done one of these in a while. Let's see. So why don't we go ahead and we'll go around the horn, introduce ourselves. And since today we are doing a discussion on Christian marriage, go ahead and mention what denomination you come from of Christianity, if any. Go ahead. We'll start with you, Strider. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the denomination I belong to, I grew up non-denominational, but now I've been attending a strictly pretty strict Baptist church for the past year or so. A lot better, in my opinion.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Society Reviews is here with us today. What's up, man?
Hi, how's it going? I'm a good old-fashioned rock-throwing Southern Baptist, baby. So, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And let's see. And then go ahead. And with us for the very first time appearing on the show is Cider. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm Cider, as it says right there. I don't have a denomination. I was raised Pentecostal, and if you know anything about that, it gets a little crazy, and that was a little too over the top for me. And so I'm out here with the Bible trying to find my way.
Excellent. Very exciting. Very exciting. I, of course, am Theo, famously a Catholic. Hope you guys don't hold that against me.
I mean, there's more things we can hold against you.
We still, I promise, we're going to do that show someday, and I'm really looking forward to it. But today is about whores. We know why we're here.
Yay!
It would not be Touch Grass with Theo Snodgrass if we didn't have a long discussion about whores. So, for those of you that don't know, some of you who are fortunate enough to not have Twitter accounts, you do not know about the ruckus.
This is day 4 of Whorgate.
Oh, we have a name for it now. Okay.
Whorgate. This is what we're going to call it.
Whorgate.
That's a hashtag.
This is day 4. I think I hope that a lot of the sane people in the audience probably have not heard about this. There is this legendary viral Twitter post.
Legendary in its bullshit, but legendary in its length too. So strap in, y'all. This is a novel.
Guys, we're gonna so ChatGPT wrote a lot of this, so we're gonna be kind of skipping around.
Did it really?
100%. Yeah, this is written by AI. Yeah,
what are the prompts that you put into something like this? Write like a novel of how my wife, of how my formerly whore wife is pure as the driven snow. Is that how?
It's very simple. It says justify my bad decisions. It says say no more, friend.
Unironically, I've gotten to the point where I've started to train AI just to argue people on Twitter because I don't have the heart to do it anymore.
Yeah, Elon, you'll suppress my account, but like shit like that is allowed. Sure, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to even begin with this one. I mean, we have to kind of read it down first and then kind of explain how this became a 4-day discourse where women, supposedly Christian conservative women out there, are using now the exact same talking points as left-wing feminist women, and they have their own simps who are just like left-wing male feminist simps.
That was bizarre to me, and I was disappointed in some some of the discourse. Some of the women I expected more from. Like Lila Rose is well known for she's great on like abortion activism. I thought she's great, but her
we had a thing with Lila Rose a few months ago where she says some pretty dumb stuff. So I'm not really surprised to see she's on this particular side of the aisle.
Yeah,
her takes, priest, by the way.
Her
that
takes,
was
yeah, well, her takes on men, women, and marriage are consistently horrible.
Yeah, she was the one making the argument that men don't need sex. You don't have to have sex with your husband because a priest can abstain from sex, and you can too.
No, and she was famously talking. She had some other female panelists one time on her podcast were tittering about how hot they thought this one social media priest was.
Yeah,
I was like, "What are we doing here, guys? What are we doing?" Anyway, let's get into the meat of this. So this gentleman is named Trevor Sheets. It is important to know about this guy. He has a company where he helps Christian brands boost their social media profile. And so this whole thing, people are speculating, is just him trying to kick up a fuss on social media so that he can promote his company. It's working, important to know.
They've been making the podcast circuit. It's working.
Yeah, and
he knows what he's doing.
It's true. Now, obviously, this post has gotten millions of views. The Daily Wire has talked about it. He went on the podcast of a gentleman named Ray Comfort, which, for those of you that are familiar with the Christian internet, he's a well-known lolcow. And he has a very popular podcast. So anyway, so he went on there. Apparently, they know each other. Anyway, long story short,
interesting.
Yeah, so he's obviously his following has increased really significantly in the wake of this, and a lot of people are speculating that was the whole reason he brought it up. So we're gonna find out. Anyway, we'll read the post. Here we go. This gentleman. My wife was formerly promiscuous. I was a virgin. I'm shocked to find out that this man was a virgin. Shocked, I tell you. Shocked.
And anyway. this is like the first part of this whole thing that was like the key like red flag here because because first of all what you're trying to do here is be like, yeah, my wife was a whore, but I actually did what I was supposed to do and not sleep around with everyone in a 5-mile radius, and then here's my reward.
Yeah, it does seem like it also kind of seems like so one thing people said, and I'll read more of it, but kind of one of the things to watch for, a lot of people felt like there was a little bit of passive aggressive resentment in him, which in these relationships, here's the thing, what's fucked up with this, we've all seen relationships like this. Yes. We've all seen that. If you're 30 plus, we've seen it, right? Especially, I hate to say it, especially if you're a church going person, you've seen something like this where there's a dude who's a total fucking goober who's just never had it together with women, and some whore is using him as a retirement plan. That's her bailout package.
She's
just like
taking advantage of him 1,000%.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We got a lot more stuff, but that. I think that's what people are objecting to here. Let's read more of it so that the audience has context.
Yeah.
So it's like his whore wife, was then radically born again, committed to church, evangelized constantly, Puritan books in her bedroom, prayer journals, grief over past sexual sin, etc. We got to know each other well for over a year, dated for 4 months, engaged for 2.5, didn't sin sexually with one another. Our first kiss was with each other at the altar. Oh man. This girl, and by the way, for those of you that don't know, this comes out, this girl wasn't just like a village bicycle. She was like a community bicycle. She was in the music festival scene. So when she would like drop DMT, and here's the thing, what she hasn't said explicitly, but is implied by her being part of the rave scene is group sex and a lot of it. So getting ran through by like multiple dudes at the same time, probably some chicks mixed in there,
I think back to like 30 years ago when, like, remember when like 6 or 7 was considered like comically high body count, but women had to try to explain it like, I had like 6 or 7 relationships and they just didn't work out. I'm still trying to find that one that's going to work out. And that was kind of the way they softened the blow, because you would think to yourself, okay, if she was in relationships and they didn't work out, she wasn't like a whore in that context, right? But we're not even like, we're way past that old measuring stick from like years and years ago now.
Well, especially because we know that they lie now. Because like a hand jive in the back seat of a car, they don't count that as a body. Even though I think most men would be like, yeah, that counts.
And that's the thing, is she's almost certainly downplaying it. That's the thing, and it's not. And it's
women always do.
Like again, and we don't know for sure, but we have some. Oh man, I wish I had that video. Damn it, I didn't pull up the video. I might have to find it while you guys are yammering at some point. But there's the video of her describing her sin, and she's like, "Oh my god, I just had so many horrible men treat me so badly, and then I found my Jesus."
And that is another major red flag people need to watch out for, because if a woman was truly repentant for what she did, she would understand that her actions were her fault. Now, we'll get to this a little bit later here, but Nyla Ray is one of these women who we've been talking about here recently. I saw, to be fair to her, I saw a video she did about a month ago where she was talking about, you know, the fact that, yeah, she was in the porn industry and she had an abortion and stuff like that, but she actually, give her credit, took accountability for the fact that that was her decision. She knew it was wrong and didn't try to make an excuse for it. What these women do is that they go, oh, I was in a toxic relationship and my boyfriend forced me to do all these things I didn't want to do. So it wasn't really my fault. It was in the relationship that I was in. And now I'm free from that relationship. They're still not taking accountability for what they did.
No.
Yeah.
And in this lady's defense, and Theo, you can continue, but in this lady's defense, she did actually take, in that interview with Ray Comfort that you sent me, I think that was him. I actually don't know the guy's face. But she did take responsibility. She's like, I wasn't a victim. I was a perpetrator. Like, I did it. It's like, I would appreciate that. But you know, it still matters a bit. So
yeah, and that felt like I think my so when I was watching it, we'll get to the interview in a second, but like I think the impression that I got was they had certain talking points that they wanted to hit. They wanted to make sure they got out there. It just felt managed to me. And we'll get to that. There's one particular clip that I want to pull up there, the moment where she was crying. And remember, like longtime viewers of the show will remember my rule. If a woman is crying for an audience, you can assume it's a performance. Right?
So, something else I find a little suspicious about this is that, like I said, this has only been going on for 4 days. How many shows have they been on in the course of 4 days since this post went viral?
At least 5 or 6 from what I've seen. Could
wow. Yeah, and so they are certainly capitalizing on the moment. Anyway, let's get into, let's finish up the post, because again, this is a fucking Victorian novel. Anyway, so they didn't kiss until the wedding day, that's the classic. Go ahead.
We've been married for over 5 years now, and she's been the most wonderful and godly wife and mother to our 3 children, and a homemaker you could imagine. She's more pure than most virgins. Not all. Wild. As biblical purity has less to do with the past sins, though they are certainly mattering. We understand this. No, we know this. And more to do with one's current posture of the heart and daily decisions to honor the Lord. Whoever Matt is, I assume that's Matthew. He's already written a novel, so he couldn't write Matthew out, apparently. Had to abbreviate that one. A little weird. But we'll go on. We are far too quick to forget the story of the woman labeled as a known sinner, likely a prostitute. In Luke 7:36-50, who was watching Jesus' feet with her tears while kissing them too. The Pharisees were shocked that Jesus let a public sinner do that.
I will say this just real quick. The first 3 sentences, right? We could have let that slide had he had not gone with the line is like, and my wife is more pure than most virgins. That line, I think, is what sent people up
everything
the wall.
Else slide. No, you're right.
I guarantee you that was intentionally put in there to set people off. Again, I think this guy knew what he was doing. He knew that sentence alone would send people into a tizzy, but he wouldn't be arguing that point. He'd be arguing everything else that people said.
And how much of this is cope? I'm not sure. I think this is him
10,000%.
No, because I think he knows that here's the thing. This is the part I mentioned this, on my solo show not too long ago. This is the part nobody wants to talk about. The fact is, when you have a guy who has no sexual experience and he marries a woman with a lot of sexual experience, there's an imbalance in that relationship because she knows what good sex is and he doesn't. So any sex they have is going to be the best sex he's ever had. And if you look, okay, let's look at the picture of them because this is mostly bullshit. Let's look at the picture. Look at this. He's holding her like a middle schooler at his first slow dance, and she's holding him like, isn't this cute little baby so cute?
He's got the soy jack face.
I don't know if it's Homath or maybe Rivellino, but what's he always saying about the claw on the face? Yeah. Like it's a very controlling gesture. I mean, I'm not it could very well be sweet. I don't know, but I know.
The reality is there's a significant power imbalance here where her sexual experience is going to be it's going to be almost impossible for him to maintain a masculine frame that she's going to respect. And
I'm so glad you mentioned that because there was a second viral video that we'll get to later on here that explains that point perfectly. A completely different woman in relationship, by the way. I don't even know if you guys have even seen this one yet, but this one was another one that went viral this week. And oh my God, like it couldn't have come in a more perfect time.
Right. And that's one thing I do want to say. I don't want to spend the whole show on these particular people because I don't really want to get up in these people's business because despite what we've seen, which is I think these people are leveraging this for social media popularity, despite what we've seen, it's entirely possible that she has sincerely sought redemption. And I don't want to, if that is the case, I don't want to shit on it too much. I kind of doubt it. But you know what? This is really about is the discourse around it. That's really what we're talking about here. Because these two people, I don't know their business. I don't really want to get into their particular business. I do, before we move on, though, this was her beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Basically all the red flags you can possibly imagine.
Dread. It's disgusting.
Like if you saw this chick at the mall, you would know. I was like, oh, man, ran through. Respectfully, but ran through.
It probably doesn't shower well.
No, almost certainly not.
No, because the whole point of dreads that you can't shower, otherwise they go away.
Yep. No, and that
why does
Julie?
Yeah. So this is, and again, that's the kind of girl. So when she said she went to music festivals and did DMT and whatever, it's like, yeah, I 100% believe that now that I've seen her. And the unfortunate reality is that women like that tend to have poor sexual boundaries. They tend to take on a lot of different partners. They tend to get involved. Well, they get involved with guys who give them free DMT. So what kind of guy do you think is giving like young women free DMT? It's like
it's no secret. It's no secret that girls that consume a lot of drugs will basically give it to anyone who's supplying it. So I mean, you can only imagine.
Yeah, those things go together. The drugs erase the boundaries a lot of time, or the inhibitions or the boundaries or whatever. And also, she was into New Age spirituality. Which is very evil, ego-driven, and self-focused. So it's it's a lot about, especially in the way that it's practiced now, particularly by women, is it's all about me and elevating myself and becoming my higher self and doing whatever. And a lot of times that goes hand in hand.
Divine feminine.
I didn't even know that was still around. Like, because I remember that was kind of
it's growing.
Deal. Really?
Yeah,
like
it's 1,000% growing.
I thought that was just like hippy dippy bullshit that everyone was like, "This is gay," and then left it behind.
No, because like I said, young woke millennial women are the ones going head in on the new age, gobbledygook, and that's why that's growing, and witchcraft and Wicca also growing too. And like I said, the common denominator is that's a bunch of women doing it.
Yeah, and this is okay. And this is something that's important is when a woman like this converts to Christianity, and this is, with the Nala Ray story, because it's not just this one woman. This woman is an example of a larger phenomenon where it's the woman, the transition from, whore to, and then she turns about 28 to 30, and then she's like all of a sudden like the world's most devout Christian, right? Mm-hmm. The addiction isn't sex, it's attention. And she's trading one type of attention where she used to be able to get sexual attention a lot more easily when she was younger. Now she has some mileage on the tires. She's trading that type of attention for a different type of attention and validation. And if you are a person who's addicted to attention and you walk into a church and you do a big public baptism where they dunk you in the water and everybody tells you how great you are and how amazing it is that you've redeemed yourself, and they put a microphone in your face, they're like, tell us about all the nasty horse shit you used to do. And they're like, for some reason, I don't know what that is. That is not part of the tradition I was brought up in. I don't know why they're doing that. That seems fucking crazy to me. Like you waterboard that out of me.
I can unpack this part because I've seen this with a lot of women, and like I said, this seems to be the same trend here. Here's basically what happens is that these women go out there, modelly attractive women in their teens and their 20s, and they're basically under the mindset that they're just going to sleep with absolutely anyone they can get in radius with, right?
Yeah.
So they build like this huge, massive body count behind closed doors with all those men that they've slept with to the point where they can't even remember how many men they've slept with in their life, right? Anyone who would have told them otherwise at that point in their lives, they would not have listened to whatsoever. The problem is that when they get a little older, once 30 hits, and then all of a sudden they're not getting ran through as much as they are anymore, then not only that, the friends that they used to have don't talk to them anymore because they've probably gotten married on their own right. So all of a sudden they're isolated on this island by themselves, and they're now starting to slowly deal with the ramifications of their decisions. So then they think to themselves, okay, well, how do I get out of this? Oh, I'll go to the church, get baptized. And this is the whole other thing that I tried so hard to get people to understand. Getting baptized does not mean that you're saved. Just because you went to a church and dunked yourself in the water does not mean that you are saved at that point. The whole purpose of baptism is a confession of faith in Jesus Christ, right? So basically, you're a sinner, you're on your way to hell, you're hellbound, you came to the belief that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, you believed in his death, burial, and resurrection, and then you become saved, then you can dunk yourself into water. But most people miss that whole point entirely. They just go, okay, I'm baptized now, that means I'm good. So then what happens is that when they get baptized, they think that because, well, they're forgiven in the eyes of Jesus, that means that everyone else has to view them as just as forgiven as, quote unquote, Jesus would. So that means that they're no longer a whore. They're no longer a harlot anymore. You have to view them as, quote unquote, the born again virgin that their newfound God believes them to be. And that's not how it works. As a matter of fact, if you actually understood what Christianity meant, by believing in Christ, it means you're going to be more hated by the world than you were before you believed in Christ. So, but they don't like that. They don't like that whole thing of like the world's actually going to hate you now because the world hated God first and now you're a part of God and that whole thing. They don't like that whole thing. They just want to be forgiven for all their past sins. And that's how far they look at it. So a lot of these women who are claiming that to be, again, born again virgins, that I'm saved and whatnot, they're not really truly saved because they don't really understand the complexity and really the fundamentals of the religion that they claim to adopt now.
That's a good point. I think I view it as a religious conversion is the first step on a long journey towards making your life less fucked up. Like you still have so much work to do because that's the thing. It's like the reality is if you are promiscuous, that shit hangs with you. You don't just and religious conversion can be awesome for changing the way that you see the world, the way that you look at things, and it can help you make better choices and it can give you a new set of rules to follow. One of the reasons, especially women are promiscuous, is because they don't have good boundaries. It's like, because it's really easy for women to be promiscuous and it's foolish and short-sighted and kind of like, but it's like mostly foolishness that drives that. Whereas like men, we got to go seek it out unless we're like stupendously attractive or whatever. We got to go seek it out and we got to show callous disregard for the feelings of the people that we involve ourselves with if we want to be promiscuous. Women could just kind of like get in a dude's car or like accept some Molly at a party or whatever. And it's just like, oh, okay. And it just kind of happens to them and they don't have good boundaries, right? So Christianity could be great for giving you boundaries and stuff like that and helping you stay away from those bad situations. But like the reality is if you are promiscuous, that shit stays with you. You're still going to have the memories of all that stuff you did. You're still going to have desires. You're still going to have temptations. And the truth is real life people that you used to deal with might slide into your DMs. They might hit you up later. Like they might not care. Like some of those guys she used to do music festivals with, some of like some fucking monster cock McGee might like shoot her a DM. He doesn't give a fuck about her fucking weeb of a husband. He's not, you think he views that guy as a threat? No. So he might be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? If you're having a fight with your husband and then some guy you used to mess with happens to shoot you a text on that same day, you're going to have the presence of mind and the moral fortitude to not engage with that. And remember, the addiction is not, dick or what, it's attention. Attention is the thing that they crave, right? So that temptation is still going to be there and they still got to grapple with it. And one of the reasons that like look at this gal, like this look at her at her baptism. Look how fucking like lit up her face is. She's for the whole congregation and everyone's clapping and telling her how great she is. And she's like, man, that's an attention high that she's getting, right? That might not be
some of it, and you're exactly right. Some of it may indeed be like the joy she feels about the redemption that she's found, and some of it maybe actually be legitimate. Maybe a legitimate feeling of redemption and feeling like that. However, we are not magically not human anymore. Even when we do become Christians, we're not. Our sin nature does not magically go away. It's still there for us to have to deal with.
Right.
So just because the whole point of salvation is to be holy in the eyes of God. That doesn't mean our human nature goes away. We are more equipped to overcome that human nature because we've been replaced with a new nature. However, that doesn't mean that the same patterns of behavior that we've participated in for a long time do not come back up, which is exactly what you're saying, Theo. Some of it could be very well attention seeking. I can't speak for this woman. I hope it's real. But we've seen stuff like this happen all the time. There are plenty of instances where this absolutely is real, and there's been a consistent walk evidenced throughout many years. And we're not saying that salvation is not real, that redemption cannot happen, that your past defines you. It doesn't. But your sin nature doesn't magically go away. That's something the evangelical church, the seeker-friendly, feminized evangelical church, has been very bad about telling us about. They tell us men about it all the fucking time, but they won't tell women about it at all.
Well, and let's go ahead before you go off. I do want to jump in real quick and say I think part of the issue here is that like Strider is saying, it is true that you do not stop being a human once you convert to a new religion. It actually gets harder after that because now you have all the same human desires and you have a bunch of new rules you have to follow. And that's hard. It's easy on the first day. Where are you at after the first week, the first month, the first year, when you still have all those temptations? How good are you at saying no to that? And I think the problem is, I think a lot of what you'd call the sewing circle Christians or some of these famous female Christian influencers have been saying to men is that you shouldn't be factoring in a woman's past when you are considering whether or not to marry them. That's what's frustrating people is like, yeah, it's great. Good for you that you're saved. Happy for you. Good for you. Good for your immortal soul. We love to see it. That's a W. Awesome. Still don't want to marry you though. You know what I mean?
It's like, I'm happy for you. I'm not saying I'm not happy for you, but I don't want you to be my wife. And that was the point. It was that little hint of rejection that, no, how come you don't want me to be your wife? I'm a born again virgin now. It's like, that's not how it works. So,
which is bullshit. That does not exist. That born again virgin shit came about in the late 90s. That is not true. You're biologically, that does not work. Sorry.
So the big problem here is that when people talk about what does it mean to be redeemed, because you've heard this a lot now, this redeemed whore or wherever they're calling themselves here right now, it's like you're redeemed in the eyes of God. What does that actually mean? It's that you're not looking to be forgiven by the world for your sins. You're looking to be forgiven by God for your sins, because God is the one who can ultimately send you to hell for the sins that you have committed, right? So the understanding here is that, yes, I am a sinner. I have committed all these sins. I want God to forgive me so that I don't end up in the lake of fire forever, right? That's kind of the context of like a Christian. When a Christian, before you become a Christian, essentially you do all the things that are sinful in the world. You think nothing of it. What comes with redemption is the knowledge of what you have been doing up to this point. So it doesn't take away your ability to do these things. Now, all of a sudden, if you had a problem with fornication, you can still go out there and fornicate, but now you know what you're doing is actually wrong. There is no ignorance of, oh, well, I didn't know that, this was bad. I didn't know sexual immorality and all this other stuff. Like, now you know. So you can't just go back out there and do the same things like you were doing before because you have the knowledge of your own sins. And then I think with these women, they think that somehow by being forgiven, quote unquote, that means that they should be forgiven by the world for their sins, which is essentially a get out of jail free card. Again, that's not what the Bible teaches at all. I used this point here earlier this week. A murderer, someone who's killed a couple people, who's in jail right now, he can find Christ in jail, in prison. He can be born again. He can be redeemed, all that good stuff. He's still going to remain in jail for the rest of his life. He's not getting out. So just because you were saved, and not saying that they're not saved, but just because you're saved does not mean all of a sudden the world's going to treat you like you're not a murderer. That's not how the world works. You still committed those sins in your life. There's only differences in who's been redeemed by the blood of Christ and who hasn't been. That's the only difference. I think what a lot of these women are missing is that just because you're redeemed does not mean that the world is going to treat you like you're the sinless vessel, because guess what? You're not a sinless vessel. You still have the ability to sin and manipulate and to fornicate and deceive and all these other things. That's not what the whole thing is about. I think that comes from really faith in and of itself. And this is a big thing with the modern church, certainly. They're not really explaining to these women what it actually means to be a Christian before they dunk them into the water. They just go out there and it's like, oh, well, I'm the supporter of animal rights. Dunk me in the water. What does that have to do with Christ? It has nothing to do with it. And I've seen many people do that. And they just like, you should not even have been baptized because you don't truly get it yet.
Well, what is
the
causing
reason for that happening?
I want to know what causes that. Yeah, that's what I want to know. What is causing?
It's actually quite simple. It's actually quite simple. A lot of evangelical churches have very much embraced the seeker-friendly movement. Again, back in the 90s, I saw this, and they'd last me about 10, 15 years, and they go away. But the seeker-friendly church wants to make it inviting for people to come in, but inviting for them to stay there. But unfortunately, we've been raised in a very feminized society. Because I about blew my dad's mind the other day when I asked him, when's the last time he heard a sermon about a sermon detailing women's sin and condemning women's sin? He's like, what? Yeah, when's the last time you heard about men's sin? Every time you have a Father's Day sermon or a Mother's Day sermon, the Mother's Day sermon, you're wonderful, you're amazing, you're incredible, keep being you. Father's Day sermon, step up, be better, don't be a piece of shit. And it blew his brain out because he was like, you're right, I don't remember. That's why. Because
even in like normal
feminized society that does not believe that women can sin. And in church, even because they can pay lip service to the sinful nature of mankind, but they never point out women's sin because it's not as obvious. Men's sin is blatantly obvious. We're talking about issues of promiscuity, lust, murder, aggression, violence, all that is obvious, that is in your face, because biologically that's how we interact with the world in a bad way. Women are the opposite. It's much more subtle. It comes with a hint of plausible deniability, which is why you're seeing constantly these women refusing to take accountability, because they don't like taking accountability. They like to have that plausible deniability. Society mentioning being a victim, I did this, I did that. Well, someone else did that to me and I followed along. No, you're still responsible for your behavior. Men are taught that from a very young age, and women especially, because the church wants to bring more women in and wants to keep them because they're the ones that drag their men to church more often than not, which is a problem. Then men aren't taught to step up. Men aren't taught to be leaders. And so they appeal to women with all this feminist nonsense, even if they don't realize it. Women they don't talk about women's sin. They don't talk about women taking accountability. They don't talk about women respecting their men, submitting to men. They always couch it in this, well, it's actually empowering to submit to your man. That's the last time you ever heard that. It doesn't exist anymore because we're trying to be more seeker-friendly, and that's why evangelical churches are dying on the vine, and they should, because their doctrine's wrong.
Think about this. When you ever hear any church talk about a woman submitting to her husband, notice how uncomfortable the pastor gets just by delivering that simple verse, because he knows the women in the audience are going to get upset. It's like, oh my God, I got to obey my husband. It's like, yeah, it's what it says, like in the Bible, that you have to obey your husband.
You always have to clarify it.
Well, they try to backdoor. This is actually interesting. This is a good lead into this video, because she uses a phrase in here in this video. Hold on, put it on the stage so you guys can look at it too. She alludes to this idea of servant leadership, which I want to get into, and that's something I had not heard that.
I grew up with this actually very much.
So I'm gonna give you guys the floor. We're gonna play this quick video here. It's only 43 seconds. We're gonna play this here. This is the gal talking about it. And remember,
real quick. even before you play this video, I just want you guys to think. Imagine this being your wife, the mother of your children, getting on TikTok and social media talking about what a whore she was before she met you.
Oh, Lord, pour one out for the homie. That's so rough.
Theo, it gets worse. Read that caption. How I got a godly man after being with horrible men my whole life. No.
No accountability.
Here's how I still got what I wanted by behaving terribly. Now, granted, that's fine, but that whole thing is all about me. It's not like here's the lesson I learned. Here's how I was blessed, even though I didn't deserve it. It's like, look what I found at Walmart, despite the fact that I only had $10 in my pocket. That's what this feels like.
No! Oh Lord!
I know.
We're gonna get to the video of her crying, and I'll make the point that I made, but I want to do this one first. So, go ahead. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Did I get such a godly, sweet, loving, servant-hearted husband after being with so many?
Can you pause this real quick?
Yeah.
Real quick. I just want to point this out. All of those words she just used to describe her husband, she never would have used to describe any man she's ever slept with up to that point.
No, that's true. No, that's true. That's like, and all those words could theoretically apply to like a three-legged puppy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not. Those aren't words you describe. Oh man, this is a super like macho take charge guy who I am really attracted to. Who whenever there's a crisis, I know I can depend on him because he's right there and he's in charge and he's a little bit dangerous and I know he can handle business. Like none of those words describe that type of person. It's more like all of those words have like an awe connotation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not
having a very weak man.
You want to know if your wife actually truly loves you. See if she ever describes you as any masculine terms.
Yeah,
if she uses any masculine terms to describe you whatsoever.
Strong, protector, leader, capable, muscular, takes care of himself and looks after me.
In her defense, it does not seem like he is manifesting any of those traits.
No.
In her defense.
Definitely not.
He does seem like a dweeb.
He could be a great Mario Kart player. You don't know.
He's on social media. He's a marketing guy. When was the last man who was in the marketing field?
No, and this is leading
John Hamm.
Here's the thing. This leads to. I do want to mention this. There is the other possibility. So there's two possibilities. When you see these, especially Christian marriages where there's a huge imbalance in sexual experience, a lot of times there's the guy's a dweeb. Sometimes he is a closeted homosexual. Like that is a fact. I don't know if it's this guy. I don't know if that's why I haven't brought it up as much because I don't know this guy's story. But that is the other version of this. He's either a dweeb or closeted. Those are usually.
I'm not going to say that we don't know people in our sphere who fit that track record. Throwing out there.
We all know. If you've been going to church for a long time, you bumped into a couple like that where it's just, it's like
he thinks you don't. He thinks you don't know, even though we clearly know. We've known for a while.
We know.
At my previous church, there were no closeted homosexuals. That's why I wasn't at that church anymore. It's like, you're not even trying to hide it. Bye. I'm out of here.
And all right, I'm going to check in with the chat real quick while we're hanging out. We got, of course, Strider is here. Mr. Scott Awesome, what's up, buddy? Lord have mercy on your response, Strider. Emily Kruger is here. Also, Mr. Scott Awesome again. There is very little, if any, law in liberal churches that I've seen. Yeah, I've noticed that there. And by the way, we have this problem in the Catholic Church as well. Some churches are very, very based and talk a lot about morality and a lot about what you're supposed to do, and they preach very strongly against sin. And some of them, especially with like the weak effeminate pastor or priests, are really soft on tradition. They're soft on doctrine, and they talk a lot about a hippie peace and love Jesus who just accepts everybody. Like the fact that I know about a podcast, not a popular podcast, so I'm not going to air them out. I've been thinking about doing a response to them for a while, but there's an LGBTQ Catholic podcast, and their goal. Right, a transgender Catholic, and I'm like, well, that's explicitly against church doctrine. And what they're saying, what they say on this podcast is, yeah, we would like for church doctrine to change to accommodate us. Not
you mean the Bible?
We're gonna have this fight later, society. The whole point of becoming a Christian is to change yourself to fit what
I mean,
what
to
God
essentially
asks
God's
you.
word, yeah.
Yeah, you have to change yourself to be what God asks you to be. And that's really hard because he sets a perfect standard and we're imperfect people. So you're setting a standard that we are going to constantly fail to achieve, but keep trying anyway. And by trying to achieve a high standard, you will become a better person and you will get closer to God in doing that. And that's going to be better for you in the long run, right? But to say, I want to change what God asks of me to be more, I want to change what God wants to make it more accommodating for me. That's like the height of hubris to me. That's the height of hubris.
That's you saying, no, I think I want to be God now.
That's a great, yes, that's exactly right. It's putting yourself in the place of, it's like God is wrong and I'm right. So, like that's completely ridiculous. And so that's what I think. Go ahead.
Is she drinking leftovers from the sperm shower?
Ew.
At least she didn't milk a horse like in those books.
Funny.
Oh fuck!
And by the way, when the Daily Wire was kind of poking fun at this girl, like those jokes were hilarious.
Yes, that was objectively funny.
Yeah,
and then Christians got mad at that too.
Oh yeah, like it was the 27 million impressions. Is like, yeah, that's just Andrew. That's just Andrew Clavin's. Like, yeah, those are just the men going, oh yeah, that was her.
Hey, real quick before Theo goes back to the video, because you made a great point, and you see this in evangelical churches here too. I look at it from this perspective. Everyone's known or seen online the Southern Baptist preacher who's yelling real loud, talking about hellfire and brimstone and all. We've seen those churches, and then we also seen the opposite, which is like the Joel Osteen. Oh, let's all come together, sing Kumbaya. So think about this. Why is it that the fire and brimstone churches are usually very, very small churches with a very, very small congregation, and then the Joel Osteen, it's like he's got a stadium full of people packed in there, right? Because his message is very, very soft on sin. But look at it from this perspective too. Who goes to those churches? If you go by statistically, you're looking at about 60% of the congregation women. And why are they going there? Because they're going to listen to a message that is soft on sin. They're not going to the fire and brimstone churches. If you go to those churches, it is men, mostly men, and the women who are there are married to the men who are in that congregation. It's not just you're seeing random 20, 30-year-old women just going by themselves to fire and brimstone churches because they're going to get convicted. And they don't like getting convicted, so they'll go to Joel Osteen's soft on sin church where they don't really have to hear about all the things that they've done and all the things that basically draws the ire of God.
100%. And what's actually kind of interesting, and Effective Purpose did a very, very just brain wrinkling video about this, is men in the absence of wars to fight, in the absence of bears to kill and wildlife to go hunt, and like an actual tribal existence, our protective instinct does not really have a place in our modern world anymore. So what do we do instead? And what have women manipulated it to do instead? And granted, a lot of men fall into this 100%, is protecting women from bad feelings. Is protecting women from feeling bad. And what does conviction naturally make you do? Feel bad. So anytime a man makes a woman feel bad, like what we're seeing all this week on Twitter, where women are feeling collectively very bad about the decisions they've made, which is not a bad thing. You should feel bad about the decisions that you've made so that you don't do them again. But we're seeing, as well as those women, a lot of men coming in and be like, how dare you make her feel terrible? I praise you. You're such an amazing woman. Yas, queen, slay. Like basically,
and they talk exactly like that.
Yes. They do. It's the same feminized language that a lot of these men are using because our protective instinct has been manipulated into trying to make women feel safe from their own bad feelings. And it never
We've
ends.
bought into a lie.
We've
bought into a lie over the last several decades that shame is a bad thing. It's like, no, shame is how you know what you're doing is bad. That's the first indication is shame.
Now let's be very clear about this. There is shame that leads to legitimate change, and then there's like the devil's shame that says that you will never change. You are an evil person. You're horrible. You can never be redeemed in the eyes of God. You are awful, evil. You're going to hell. There's no. That's not what we're saying. We're saying the bad shame is what we don't want. The good shame is what they're running from, which is
well, that's what
and the good shame leads to repentance. That's kind of the important part there.
And one thing that's bugging me is that I think we're selling, especially to women, it seems, we're selling this idea that if your life is fucked up, you just need a quick dunk in the water and you're good. And the reality is changing your life is really hard, and it takes a lot of hard work, and it might take you years of daily hard work. And those first couple of years are going to be really fucking tough. I'm just being real with you.
It takes you years to figure out that the things that you were doing and consuming and all your lifestyle was actually wrong. Like, you might not even find out till like 4 years down the line. It's like, wait, that was bad too? Because you may have not have thought of something that you were doing before, and it might have been normalized growing up, and then you see it for what it is, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, now it's clicking.
Yeah, that's
basically
exactly
the Christian Ozempic. It's just we have this lie that believes that you can just take a quick dunk in the water and confess your sins and you're magically thin again. And it granted you may be, and that may be true if you actually are legitimately believing in it, but it doesn't create those habits that will allow that to keep going.
Yeah,
so you'll have to keep injecting yourself with all sorts of happy thoughts and good sermons instead of actually doing the work to exercise, eat right, adjust your habits to maintain maintain that health. It's the same thing with people.
The reality is relapse is part of recovery, unfortunately, and that is true of any deeply ingrained bad habit that you wish to stop, whether it be promiscuity or drug use or alcohol abuse or whatever the hell it is. Porn is like that. It takes a long time, a lot of efforts. You're going to stumble along the way. And my problem with like big conversion stories like this is that now you've set yourself up as a standard out in public on social media. Like, look at me. And now you're asking to be scrutinized. And I think you're also setting an unrealistic standard for people who might wish to convert, that like once they do the dunking, it's over. And I think then, okay, like let's say you're a person and you want to change your life and you do the dunk. And fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Well,
you're from Maine. Maine's not people.
Well, think about it. Like you want to change your life, and then you like maybe 6 months in or whatever, that attention isn't hitting the same, and there's a bunch of new converts that are taking up all the new convert attention, right? And it ain't hitting the same. And then Thundercock McGee from the music festival sends you a DM on Instagram like, hey, good look at what you got cooking, or whatever he says. I don't know if he has game or not, but and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that temptation hits. And you're like, but I was reliably told that temptation was over now because I've converted. It's like, no, fucking no. You still are a human being with like all the gross animal tendencies you had before. That's still there. And you got to do the work of wrestling with that. And I don't think we're being honest with people. That's my objection about this discourse. We're not being honest with people about how hard it is to turn that shit, actually change your life in a permanent way. It's really hard.
So I'm just going to assume I'm the man whore here. I've been engaged 3 times and I've had 14 sexual partners. Okay. I have not been sexually active since 2017. I have made the decision that it is not possible for me to find somebody in this state of mind, in this state of spiritual connection with Jesus, and I'm not going to find somebody that solves the problems I'm having with relationships in this current state. So I said no. Now, I have tried to meet people. I haven't just like deleted all the efforts and jumped away from all of it. It's only been a couple of years now that I've done that. But in the time that I was still trying to find a partner but not being sexual, it is entirely impossible to do that now. Sexual interaction is first date, second date. They have to know that you know how to lay the dick down before they'll ever come into you being anything more than like a nice guy to talk to.
Yeah.
It's a huge barrier for them, that they need the sex to know that you're, I guess, compatible. You know?
Yeah, I will
He
say
wasn't
there
taught
is
validation.
I don't
for you to bang.
I will say I don't want what Cider is saying to be true, but I understand why he's saying I don't want it to be true. On a deep level, I don't want it to be true. I can't definitively say it isn't true. I don't want to believe it. I'm in a similar situation. I've changed my life in a pretty significant way in the last couple of years, and trying to date according to my values is very tough. It's very hard to find somebody who, shares my same values as me. I was at a comedy show one time, and God damn it. I'm not even gonna talk about this. I'll talk about this off the air.
Yeah.
Never mind. I'm not gonna bring this up on the fucking stream.
I want you guys to think about this here for a second, because I mean, like, I'll be honest, my last date was about 4 years ago, and things went well for the first couple of dates till I realized she had a little problem with the alcohol. Then all of a sudden I had to be the babysitter in the group, and that was not a very fun experience for anyone who's ever been in that position.
Try being married to someone like that for a long time. It's not pretty.
Yeah. So after that point, I was like, okay, basically the same thing with Cider. It's like, I'm just going to take a break and focus on other things for you right now. So these are guys who, like us, who have been a little bit more experienced in this. Now, thinking from the perspective of essentially a guy who's a virgin, right? Let's be honest here. A guy who's a virgin, this whole story is kind of being framed towards him, right? Because you think how difficult it is for us to find someone who is in our line of faith, or at least kind of somewhere who's somewhat close enough where you can maybe shape them one way or another from our perspective. Imagine you're a guy trying to find a virgin at this point in time in life in 2026, I should say. It's like, this whole story is basically telling you, it's like, yeah, the virgins just aren't really out there anymore. So you're probably going to have to, settle with these single mom / reformed whores at the church. Find one of them, and I'm pretty sure they'll make you happy. And what I was saying here is that this story is really a black pill for those guys, because those guys, like I said, are the ones who did everything the way that they were supposed to do it, kept themselves pure, didn't go out there sleeping with a bunch of women. They just want to find another girl who's like them. And what they're looking around is like, wow, now the average body count's 30 before you even get out of like college, and like I gotta like wife one of these like women. It's like they're looking at it more dire than even we are, because they're just like, where's the mutual for us?
Right. Well, I also want to throw in something. I can speak to this
too, like, because I was married for the longest time, and my ex and I, we were both virgins before we got married, and so it seemed like we did everything right. However, not to spill too much of my story here, but there were a lot of things in her life that I didn't realize were a red flag until much later. And she ended up being unfaithful. She ended up being abusive. And so I had no choice but to leave. I did not know that going in. So, but the thing is, we were around. Go ahead. Sorry.
Real quick. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I want to ask you something. Do you think that your lack of experience with women affected your ability to evaluate her fitness as a partner?
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%.
And that's what we're saying about these virgin guys.
Yeah. And that's that's also one thing that I think a lot of people who grew up in the evangelical church can appreciate. And this is something I told my dad, because my parents did not model that behavior. Like because Max was rather controlling, very anxious person, very, I couldn't even have anything in my own living room because it was all hers. That's the kind of person she was. And I was telling my dad this, my parents did not model this behavior. Her parents did. And her parents grew up in a very charismatic evangelical church. But the tradition that I was raised in, when I went to church, I went to Christian college, went to Christian high school, the constant refrain that I was hearing was endless. I was from the man. It's, I'm a doofus. My wife is the best. My wife is the best part about me. Every single time, and whenever someone would talk about it, oh, I'm an idiot. She's the best part of me. She's my better half. She's my other. It's never about what I bring to the table. It was never about what the man brings to the table. It was never about what role he fulfills. His wife is the genius. His wife is the brains of the operation. He's just there. And I didn't realize until much, much later that was the dynamic I was marrying into, and that was the dynamic that I was taking into the marriage, and that's on me. But it wasn't. I had to do a lot of work and really being honest about what I was raised with. And where the hell did this come from? this is not me. This is not what I grew up with. My parents were not like that at all. My mom was always like, we're a team, but dad's in charge. We're going to wait till dad comes home. We'll ask him about it. It was never like that. That would never have flown in my marriage. Absolutely not. But the thing is, we have to understand egalitarian marriages do not work because the bigger personality usually wins out. Women are taught to be the bigger personality. Men are not taught to be the bigger personality. Men are not taught to have standards. Men are not taught to have ideas and plans of their own. The church says that they want to, but practically, what they teach is that women are the ones who are supposed to be the brains of the operation. The men just trundle along behind them, and we see this time and time again. And it's exactly the same dynamic. Because it's the women who are the ones who are out there being more experienced, to women who are out there who are encouraged by their environment and honestly by other women. Let's not gloss over that. It's not just women. It's not just men pressuring them for sex. It's women pressuring them to do it so that they don't feel bad. That's a whole nother story. But they're the ones setting these standards. They're the ones setting the sewing circle. And it's very, very sad because men are expected to not sin and not be sexually active. And it's just the standard gets set for us, but we're the ones that suffer the most consequences.
So I want to jump in here. Real quick. I want to show this video before we get off this idea of the disparity in experience.
Yeah,
because that's I've talked a lot about my own history on this channel. It definitely, having some experience with women definitely changes how you view them. And I think one of the issues when it's talking about this is something I think Society tweeted about this actually, and Ali is like, that's spot on. When you see these women come into the church with like a lot of baggage in the promiscuity department, they're not seeking out dudes like me that are also ran through, right? Mm-hmm. They're seeking out dudes. And this guy tweeted, it's like introducing a wolf to an environment. It's like, okay, like when explorers got to Caribbean islands and there were all those animals there that had no natural predators, and their only way of like defending themselves was to stand still. Like all those birds are extinct now because they just walked up and hit them with clubs. You know what I mean? Like they were just defenseless because they had never been preyed on in that way before. What I want you to do is watch this clip. Now, I don't know for sure that these tears are fake, but I'm pretty sure. And watch how this plays out, and look at this look right here. Go ahead, sweetheart.
He showed me that my promiscuity was a sin against God, and I deserved hell.
This is on a podcast, by the way.
And by the way, this music is not an edit. This actually was in the podcast.
Only sin.
Yeah.
And all I have to do is to repent.
There's no tears.
Jesus.
She's touching her eye. There's no tears.
And that night, I gave my life to Jesus, and I threw out all the New Age books in my room, and my life changed, and I never went back into that life again. I've been saved since 2017, and Jesus is only more and more real to me, and I'm a new creation. I felt grief over my sin, but I don't anymore because I am new. That person who was promiscuous is dead. She's gone, and I am new in Christ, and that is why I have
just
no
pause
shame.
for a second.
Yeah.
Like, you do realize, just real quick, you do realize now that you're married now, you can't be promiscuous with your husband. Like that doesn't stop you. You don't have to be like a nun anymore now that you're married. That's not exactly. But like, this is a perfect point your perfect point with Strider's point here. This is something that I think a lot of people don't understand in the church too, because I've seen this a lot. It's like a lot of these churches are not teaching men how to be strong biblical men. They're not. What they're teaching them is how to be
very rare.
How to be a woman's view of what a strong man should be. So you're basically trying to craft these young men today to be acceptable in the eyes of women and not acceptable in the eyes of God.
Well, this is tricky. So I'm going to add one caveat to that. And it's not what women desire in their heart of hearts. It's what women say they want out loud. And that's a very different thing. They say they want a kind, sweet, generous, whatever, servant-hearted, whatever adjectives you want to use, man. In reality, the man that they respond to and feel secure with, feel safe with, and in fact are made horny by is a guy who's got a little bit of machismo. And let's say, guys, we can say a lot of things about the current state of Christian men. Not a ton of machismo, right? Unfortunately,
an influx of testosterone is not something we can be.
Snyder, I know you were trying to jump in there for a second. I want to make sure we get to you. What did you want to add?
Oh, I was just wondering why she looked like a female Woody Harrelson. Woody Allen. Sorry, Woody Allen. My bad. Female Woody Allen.
Oh,
either one works.
No, hold on, I gotta pull
like
this
a
up.
female Woody Allen. I was like,
He
what
really
am I
does,
looking
especially in this shot.
Oh my
She's
god!
Like, it's New York. It's springtime.
Where's my bagel?
It's setting off my allergies.
There's a cat in the hot tin roof there somewhere.
guys, we gotta stop this line of humor before it affects my interest rates. All right.
So in my experience with this phenomenon, though, about this inexperienced situation, my first fiance and I were virgins together. We surrendered our virginity to one another. That was a very difficult time for me because I had known all along that she was going to bleed when that happened, but I just mentally was not prepared for her actually bleeding after that act. And I made up a decision after that point that I would never be with a virgin again. I can't emotionally go through hurting someone I love like that and making them bleed in such a tender place at that. And it still bothers me now. But my third fiance, she was a sex addict, and I did not know this. I had no clue. Now, finding her on Tinder should have been a click for me, but I was still under the impression that, hey, I'm here for good intentions. Everybody else must be too.
I see problems.
Yeah, right? So we dated for 6 months, and I asked her to marry me, and I probably could have held a gun to her head and had like a more successful relationship from that point on. Because when I told her I wanted to get married, she said yes. She was very excited about it, called her mother, told everybody about it. We were in great spirits. About a month later, she's like, we got to go. This isn't working. Bye-bye. I got to go. She was a single mom. Her son loved me. The first night I came to her house, which did not, well, it did result, but it did not supposed to. But the first night I came to her house, her son was playing Castle Crashers while I was making dinner. I made dinner for everybody. We had a great time. We high-fived. He had me play video games with him. Then he asked me to read him the bedtime story. Okay? So here the three of us are in this kid's bedroom. I don't even know his last name. Okay? And I'm reading him a bedtime story. That's like catnip to this girl. She takes me 2 rooms down the hall, and the Thunderstruck AC/DC song probably would be a good example of this. What they respond to. Now, you're talking about that machismo and things like that. They're not looking for Chad, because Chad irritates them after they get it out of their system. What they're looking for in that long-term partner is the one that steps up and says, no, I'm the guy.
They're looking
You're the
for
woman,
their dad.
I'm the guy.
They're looking for their dad. That's what they're looking
Right,
for.
exactly. They are looking for a replacement for their father. And that every last one of my fiancés all had a father who was either absent from the home or in the garage all the time or beat their mom. So, bad example.
Again, and I guess the point we're trying to get at here is this kind of pattern recognition only becomes clear after you've dealt with women up to a certain point.
Yeah.
And
you got to be past max capacity to see this.
Yeah. And there is a point, I have reached a point myself where I don't know if I have another relationship in me at this point because I know too much now. I've seen too much horrible shit at this point. I hope I do. I keep trying, but it's like, oh, fuck, dude.
It does get to a point where you just feel like you're looking for a unicorn at this point, right? And you got unlike women, like men actually kind of have that realization point. It's like, I'm looking for a unicorn that doesn't exist. So, like, what am I really doing?
I mean, you can see it in the marriage rates, and you can also see it in like the dating rates. Like women are fast waking up because men just aren't interested anymore. And especially after they spent, you've mentioned this before, after they spent so many years chasing down and screwing Chad from the vape shop, they finally realized, wait, this isn't sustainable. This isn't going to maintain me in my old age. And all of a sudden they're approaching 30. Suddenly the reality starts to hit them in a very unpleasant way. And so they will flee to the church in a way to find men that they think that they kind of men that they should have been chasing in the first place, and B, that they know that's where they can find them. And I don't think that women are consciously being like, oh, I can manipulate this guy into sleeping with me. No, I don't think they're actually doing that. I don't think they have enough self-awareness to do that, but they are doing it nonetheless, whether or not they realize it. And that is something to keep in mind. Women's nature is still in a way very emotionally driven, is very manipulative. And if you're a man and you hold frame and you don't let yourself be suckered into that, you can avoid a lot of hurt. You can avoid a lot of heartbreak. And I'm choosing to believe that this woman's conversion is genuine. I don't know. I'm not God. I can't. That's not between me and her. Only God knows. However, it is okay, and this is pretty much our point the whole time, this whole week. It is okay that I would rather avoid women like this. And it's not not like men are expecting virgins. We're not expecting these chaste, Bible thumping, believing virgins. And it would be nice if we found one. However, it's okay that we would rather not have a woman who has more sexual experience than we do. And the more time goes by, and the thing is, it is easy for women to get laid. It is far more likely that a woman is going to have a higher sexual experience than a man can, because it's difficult for a man to get married. It's very difficult for a man to get laid. It's very difficult for men to have that leverage that sexual leverage over a woman. And not that that's unfortunately, that's something we're not even allowed to mention, is leverage. That does put him on the back foot. And especially in this world where women are the ones celebrated, women are the ones praised, women are the ones who are paraded who are their husbands parade in front on Twitter. They're the ones who have most of the leverage in society anyway. And that's just one other thing. Like that's the most intimate thing you can have, is to have a woman have that kind of leverage over you. It's like, in the most intimate setting, it is very uncomfortable, and it's okay that it's uncomfortable. We are allowed to not want that.
And, take it a step further, all these divine feminine defenders that we've been dealing with on social media the last several days, they operate under a mindset and a worldview that they just completely ignored the statistics about relationships in 2026. They don't look at, guess what, guys? Even in the church, divorce rate's about 50% right now. It's not that much different from the world anymore. They're not even looking at the fact that women are initiating more divorces than men. They're not looking at the fallout that if a man chooses the wrong woman, that financially his life can be screwed, emotionally his life can be screwed. If you actually do have kids, good luck, it might be over at that point, right? So it's like they're not even considering is that, hey, look, the reason why men are so defensive about who they pick for a wife is that if they choose wrong, they gain far more to lose on a multitude of levels than a woman does. And that doesn't even cross a lot of these people's mind. They're thinking like, oh, you're just judging this woman, you must be some kind of incel, blah, blah, blah. It's like there's a lot to this issue that you guys are just blatantly ignoring, especially for, like I said, those, not as masculine men out there who probably don't even know what they're truly getting into. So anyone who tries to warn them about, hey, look, this is kind of what the world is right now. You got to be more on guard than ever if you're going to get married to someone and eventually have that be the mother of your children. And it's like that thought doesn't even cross these people's minds at all.
Yeah, I think it's like, here's the thing. I'm not saying no one should marry a formerly promiscuous woman, but I do think a guy who's a virgin and has zero concept of what he's getting into should definitely not.
Virgins for virgins. That's
that seems totally fair.
Put it to you this way: if you're like a Vegas, nightclub promoter or whatnot, and that's been your scene for 20 years,
right there,
sure, you could marry a porn star.
Absolutely.
Let's be honest, you guys are both equally as degenerate. It's not like you're losing anything whatsoever. Right? So it's like, go for it, right? But it's like, find someone you're actually like. Why is it that the town bicycle now all of a sudden wants to find the virgin male who has been basically recluse for like the last 5 years? Why is she not looking for someone who at least is in the same level to her sexually? So it's like, hey, look, you can put both of your baggage together, and now all of a sudden the shame of what you guys did before is not nearly as heavy as it was previously.
And by the way, it is okay that you look at those people with suspicion. It is perfectly fine. You are allowed to do that. Do not let the church people get mad at you. Do not let the Twitter people browbeat you to thinking that immediately their past sins don't matter. Yes, your past does matter to an extent. It doesn't matter. But past behavior can certainly indicate future behavior. And especially if there's been a long time in between there, So especially if and this is just like practical advice. If there is a woman who has been a little bit promiscuous in her past, if she like just came to Jesus 6 months ago, I'd be like, okay, bye, not messing with that, because there's still a lot, and Theo, you can attest to this. There is a lot of mental and emotional baggage that comes with that. A lot of stuff you've got to work through and deal with that takes a long time. Just like an addict, just like an alcohol, gambling addict, anything. It takes a long time to unlearn those behaviors. And that's not a bad thing. That is not judgment. That is not a condemnation. That is not saying that you're destined to never do that, to always be in that pattern. You're not bound by that. Especially in the church, you're not bound by that. But if you show a consistent pattern of not doing that again, like I haven't, then that's something. That's something to pay attention to. But indeed, if she had like just come to Jesus 5 minutes ago, then that you don't want to get mixed up in that, because physical and mental and emotional and spiritual consequences do come into play, and that's something the church has done a terrible job of telling men to look out for. Because again, going back to our previous point, churches don't tell men that women sin. Period. So we don't know what to look out for. We don't know what to be wary of. And we're told that it's not okay for that to bother us. If that bothers you, figure out why, like, and I'm no virgin. So I'm not going to say, I don't expect a chaste virgin whenever I get married again, but I would certainly, even if there was someone who maybe was a little bit promiscuous in her past, it would certainly have to depend. I would have to have a certain checklist that would come up. And that's okay for me to have. It is okay for men to have preferences. It's okay for men to look out for the very damaging effects that some of these women can have. And men are not excused from this either. And it only goes one way for some reason.
Well, here's the thing. One thing I'll throw out is, this is somebody tweeted, which I thought was really interesting. It's like, if a man had recently started going to church, and he had been a degenerate gambler, and he had a lot of gambling debt, but he didn't gamble anymore. He'd given it up, and he wanted to marry a fiscally responsible woman who had no debt and had taken care of herself financially. Would you be psyched about that, or would you maybe encourage her to exercise some caution? And the answer is, of course, most reasonable people would say, yeah, that feels like maybe not fit. Maybe once he's demonstrated a period of financial responsibility, paid down some of that debt, maybe once he's demonstrated a plan, demonstrated a consistent change of behavior, then maybe, but certainly not. Like, you certainly wouldn't say to her, hey, you're a bad person if you do not want to overlook this debt. You're totally fine to disqualify him on that basis. And I think that's a good one-to-one comparison, because admittedly, debt is a tangible consequence, but there are similar lingering consequences to promiscuity. Even though they may not be as tangible as money, there are similar lingering consequences that take time to work through. Like, that's real. And you're not a bad person for disqualifying someone on that basis. I think you should probably try to find someone who's similar to where you're at. And there's two groups that I really want to mention that this is horrible for the marketing of Christianity, which is the point. Yeah. This is horrible for the marketing of Christian marriages. There's two groups who are getting fucked over by this. One we already mentioned, which is the dudes who are virgins, who are basically told that you're going to, marry a chick who's ran through. The other one is the women who actually did make good choices. I spoke to a woman like that recently, and she is just, absolutely, furious at that. The expression I use on the show is whores win twice, right? Because they win in their 20s when they are promiscuous, and then they win again in their 30s when they settle down with the nerdy nice guy, right? So, and I think a lot of women who followed the rules the whole time have noticed this, and they're like, well, what the fuck was even the point of doing that? What was even the point if I can't get with a dude who's righteous? If they're just going to marry whores anyway, what the fuck was the point of me even doing that?
Not just marry them, be encouraged to marry them. Have the church be like,
By the church.
You're a bad person if you don't marry the ran through whore. And that's a lot of what they sound like.
Go ahead, Cider.
I want to. Oh, go ahead, Cider.
Cider wants to jump in. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say, the reality is that the majority of women, even if they are virgins and have never dated, have never kissed or anything like that, they automatically expect a man to be a negative influence on their lives that they have to rebuild from zero. They
Sure.
automatically expect us to be harmful, addicted, angry, violent, inconsiderate, emotionless, and totally self-focused. Now, this primarily relies on the media that's available out on every.
Oh, I see.
Because
Okay.
media Homer Simpson became the male archetype for not just sitcom dads and partners, but also just about every male representation.
I
Zoom
see.
out on Vin Diesel's characters. They're all violent idiots. Zoom out on Glenn Powell's characters. They're all violent idiots. You've got Chris Pratt, play as devout Christian as he is, he plays a violent idiot. And that's what they expect out of us, is to be giant baby men that they have to say, no, you can't kill that guy just because he cut you in line, that they have to babysit us. So they automatically enter every relationship expecting us to be only bringing 50, 20, 10% to it, that they then have to pull out of us to turn us into the good guy that they see. Inversely, men approach these relationships with the fixer-upper mentality. The majority of guys that accept that women are not going to be virgins in their lives really have a bad habit. I'm one of them. I have 14 partners because of this.
Sure.
I saw potential. Just like when you go buy a house that's a little beat up and you say, well, you know, fresh coat of paint, I could flip that. You know, I could make a nice house to raise a family in.
Yeah.
That's the mentality we approach to this with, and it's very bad because we think that we're seeing we're seeing reality when we see a mirage. We want to see a good, pious, dedicated woman. We want to see a motherly woman, and we see a young princess right now who does not acknowledge the world around her for the reality that it is, and she's not going to change, fellas, not without fire, brimstone, and God stepping in and slapping her across the face. That's the reality that you're in right now, is that women 4 generations in have had the princess mentality fed to them. You've done nothing wrong. You can do no wrong. You are the precious thing that a man must climb a mountain of fire to obtain. And from
you
that
can't
point
fix her.
on,
You
You're
can't fix
100
everyone.
You're
You
100% correct.
You can't fix
I
it.
had to
I
learn that
can-
over 2 fiancés. That was
Dude, I learned that over 7 years of marriage, man. Because
Aw, damn.
I did the same goddamn thing. Because I looked at this woman who seemingly had a lot of potential, but there were some issues that I didn't realize there were some issues there that, in hindsight, I can be like, oh, red flag. But I thought I could love her through it. I thought I could love her out of it. I thought that I could be a positive influence towards her behavior, and I damn well tried. I very much tried. Like I was in, and again, I'm trying to toot my own horn or anything, but I was a damn good husband. I did my best, but the thing is, you can't do your best with someone who does not think that they can do any wrong, and that definitely bled through to my marriage, because I was with someone who was constantly trying to police me, constantly trying to condemn my behavior, constantly trying to get me to almost literally fire off every neuron every neuron that went into a decision I made because she didn't like it, or there was something out there that she didn't approve of. It was just nitpicking bullshit. It didn't actually matter, and none of it mattered. It was something that things that if I were to see that in her, and I did, I let it go because it didn't matter. For her, it 100% did. She expected out of me a level of perfection that I could not obtain. And again, looking back at her family of origin, looking back at her religious background, I could see that. Again, in hindsight, I didn't know that now because I was not taught. But in hindsight, I can see, oh, you were told that you were the princess. You were told you were and it's fine for her to have and it's fine for women to have a father figure. They need fathers. But when you have someone who constantly praises you and showers you with love, but not a whole lot of consequence, not a whole lot of parenting, it breeds in them, as you said, this view that men are the bad guys. Men are there for you to fix. Men are there men are there to make your dreams come true. Men are the ones who are going to come into your life. You are going to absorb them into your life. You're not going to be a part of his. You're pretty much going to be the one to take charge. And especially if you grew up in a rather matriarchal family of origin, that's very much the case.
All right, society.
I hate this video.
Yeah, I'll get to this here in a second. I just want to point this out too. You remember, like the Bible, You know how biblical marriage used to work, like back in the day? Basically, you found the woman you wanted to marry, you negotiated with her father, and then after he agreed to the terms, you became married, and that's how it was supposed to work. And then now we think of the things that we have to do in 2026 to get married and be like, oh, we kind of veered off the path there a little bit, didn't we? We kind of went left when we should have went right, but that's a whole other conversation here. This is another great example of everything that we've been talking about here. This is a woman who... The context here is that she's on social media talking about her husband, who is, I guess, some kind of successful nerd guy, whatever it is. Yeah. She's in his backyard talking about the men that she used to sleep with before she met him. And then it's not only just this video, but it's the comment after this video that was even more egregious than the video itself. It's short, but just listen.
You know, back when I was still having sex with men who wore Adidas slides and dirty white socks.
Oh, fuck!
I wish I could tell me then that I'd be married to like a whole ass pediatrician sitting outside in our backyard by the fire he built me, drinking an old fashioned, waiting for him to come downstairs to join me because he's putting our kids to bed. Marry the nerd.
So that's bad enough. You want to know what the comment was immediately afterwards? This is verified comment. Her video. Some girl says,
"Oh my god,
I'm following you because of the fact that you said dirty socks and slippers. Yuck! I love the upgrade, quote unquote." And she replies, "I mean, the sex was fun. LOL. Can't knock it."
Ah!
Divorce now. Divorce.
Oh,
yes,
fuck.
This would be grounds for it.
Oh fuck.
Dude, I think. I don't know if women,
here's the thing.
I don't know if women don't understand how this sounds to men or if they don't care. I don't know which.
A little bit of both.
They don't care. Well, they don't care because they got their bag. She has her property. She has her fire pit. She has her old fashioned. She has her man taking care of the kids up fucking stairs. She gets what she wants and she doesn't
Whores
care.
win twice. Whores win twice. This is what I'm talking
she's
about.
in his backyard, in the house he paid for, in the fireplace he built, talking about her ex-boyfriends.
Yes. See, that's what I'm saying. By the way, this is why we don't have good women, by the way. This is why we don't have, because what is the incentive? If you're a woman and you're practicing virtue and you're being very careful about the men you lay down with, even if you're not saving it for marriage, you know, let's be realistic. But if you are practicing, you're being very, very judicious about the men you choose to lay down with, and you see a video like this, what is your incentive to continue doing that?
Well, so this is also point out the fact that he's a pediatrician. So this man spent a decade at least getting to this position where he can own a house and he has maybe he has his own practice, probably. So he's the one that spent a decade working hard to build this life, and then he marries the whore. He marries the whore that comes in and disrespects him because she knows that she can. No doubt. The exact same dynamic. This ran through a woman, finds a goober of a nerd, and seduces him, and that he's like the best sex she's ever. He's like the best sex she gives him the best sex he's ever had because again, pediatrician, you're busy. You're in undergrad. You're in grad school. You're in medical school. You're in residency. You do not have time to date. No doubt he's an older man too, because this woman looks about maybe early 30s. No doubt he's probably pushing 40. Because that's what it takes, and she knows that, and I guarantee you, she intentionally targeted this guy, found him, and seduced him for that reason. It's disgusting.
Let me tell you a horror story. Okay, I'll tell you a horror story. My first fiance and I met in high school, and we were together for 6 years. Okay, we were the couple in our community. I ran for mayor with her by my side. We were the couple. Okay, we had girls in our graphic design class that were writing fan fiction about our romance. Okay, that's how just it was. Wow. And so 6 years go by, I develop a disease known as colitis. And if you don't know, that's when your intestines decide to dissolve out of nowhere. They're just like, hey, fun time, we're out. And so I'm losing about 2.5 pints of blood out of my ass every 14 days, okay? And that's not really a fun time because you kind of need that blood. It's kind of important. Big so time. Every time I'm going to the bathroom, it's turning into the Kool-Aid man showing up in the bathroom. And so she decides that's not her bag. That's not her deal. After 6 years, she decides that's not her deal. Now, the horror part of this is that one day I'm just hanging out, trying to rest, doing the thing, and she says, I need space. And I go, okay. I go get a pillow. I go back to my mom's house. I give her space. I let her have her space. I show up, and she says, come back, and stuff like that. A couple days later, I come back. She's jumping out of her skin. every time I round the corner and she just doesn't expect me to be there, boom, she's like, ah! You know, she's like expecting me, I guess, to come in with a gun and kill her or something. And so we break up because of all this. The engagement's over. It's all tearful. She says to me, I wish I met you when you were older. And I was like, that's a really weird thing to say to somebody you've been with for 6 years. But little did I know, 2 weeks after we broke up, she moves out of the apartment we were living in together with a guy that's 12 years older than her that already has a house career that she met at work and had already gone and slept with him at a hotel during
Now,
the
let me
work
ask you, did she know that if you were going to get older, she would just have to wait? Did she know that?
I assume she thought I was a Pokemon and she had to give me a sunstone to make me evolve. So
whenever a woman is afraid that you're going to kill her, it's based on something she did.
Well, this is the thing, is my mother said, I explained all this to my mother, and my mother was no friend of women. She was the alpha female. Everyone feared her. And so she said she aborted your baby. And she thought you found out and were going to kill her. And that's why she was jumping out of her skin.
Oh, my God.
And that's why she broke up with me. She cut it all off. Just immediately, boom, dropped me in the back. Like, a few days after that, I had to go in and have my kidneys rattled in order to chase out an 8mm kidney stone. And she had said she would be there for me because we were still kind of talking. And it goes by, I'm in the hospital, and then I message her, and she says, oh, I forgot. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Daisy.
So basically what she did was like, I killed your baby. I'm erasing you from my memory so I don't feel any guilt over it. Bye. And then this 42-year-old guy was like, hey, a 23-year-old hot piece of ass is jumping all over my dick. Might as well put a ring on it. A year later, they're married in a hayfield when she wanted to have some multi-story fucking Halloween theory marriage with me that had to have all sorts of gimmicks and glim and glamour. And she's married in a hayfield to this guy.
Yeah, he had a different price of entry.
And yeah, right. Okay, so this is 12 years later after the fact. No kids. They don't have kids. 12 years later, no kids.
Wow.
So I'm convinced that she killed my kid. I'm convinced that she did it because you don't do that and then not go off and have kids with a guy you are really secure with. And that's what it was. That's the horror story with that one. It just, out of nowhere, it was like, you got to go. And I went, and apparently in those 2 days, she went and got the abortion, then thought she could bring me back in. And no, now she was sick during that time, and I just figured she was tired from all the crying, and she was jumping out of her skin. So I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to scare you.
Why do you guys hate women?
Yeah, I mean, according to pastors, according to people on Twitter, this shit doesn't matter. You know, we hear horror stories like that. We're not supposed to take this seriously. We're not supposed to.
We're all just incels who hate women.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like guys get blindsided by the shit because women. Look, not all women are like this necessary qualifier, but the women will do shit like that and not even feel bad, and they'll be surprised that you're upset with them. They're like, I was finding myself. Why are you up? Why are you taking this personally?
Well, no, I can actually speak to this.
Why are you holding me accountable for my actions?
Well, I can actually speak to this directly because I was in the same kind of position. I mentioned before that despite the fact that I myself was loyal, my ex-wife was definitely not. And the first mistake, fellas, is the first affair occurred 2 years in. That was the honeymoon stage. The honeymoon stage. But here's the thing. I was raised in a Christian tradition that forgave sin. So I forgave her, took her back. 5 years later, we're working like crazy, and all of a sudden she starts acting weird again, the exact same way she was acting the first time she cheated on me, and the exact same thing was happening.
I want to point this out just real quick in your story. Now, I want to point out that your church did not even tell you that, by the way, you can divorce your wife for being sexually immoral because that's exactly what she did. And there's biblical grounds for doing that. So they didn't even tell you that, knowing that it was in there. Just be like, just forgive her and move on.
Well, that's the thing.
Sam I the infamous real quick. I'm going to read this guy. My ex-wife shook her ass at every swinging dick in 30-mile radius except mine. I don't know who I am with you. I just need space. I don't know how to be a wife, etc. And it's like, and the thing is like, and that's what I'm saying is like I don't know who I am with you. Your fault. I just need space from you because it's your fault. I don't know how to be a wife to you because it's your fault. You see how this is all This is what I'm saying. Women will do shit like this and not feel bad. And then the church will be like, well, if you were a better servant leader of a husband, then this shit wouldn't have been happening.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When I was confronting her about it, it was my fault. I was the one who wasn't strong enough. I was the one who wasn't doing this. I was doing this, that, and the next thing. And what's so crazy is that so I not to go too deep into my story, but so I left the house as I should have after I found out, and apparently she was seeing an anesthesiologist. So already an older guy with kids. Her first affair partner was an older gentleman with kids. She is now married to another older gentleman with kids. So these are just the two guys that I know about. But the whole time she was gaslighting me into thinking it was my fault. And it was quite interesting. So after I left, she was trying to emotionally manipulate my parents, but she never actually admitted what she did. She never actually admitted why I left. They didn't know. They knew the story from me because I had nothing to hide. But she did not tell them what was going on. But the thing is, and the more I was talking, and again, both times I found out about the affairs that I knew about, it was all lack of accountability. It was all you did this, you did that, and that was after she denied it 4 or 5 times. I was only when I had her nailed to the wall, metaphorically, did she actually admit it. And so the entire time, just constant denial of accountability, denial, and then all of a sudden, no, it's your fault. Yes, I did it, but it's your fault. And to this day, I don't think that anybody knows. I don't think that anybody in her circle actually knows the whole story, because why would she tell them? Because it's the same thing, and no doubt she goes to church. I mean, I don't even know if her new husband knows. I don't. It's not my business. But that's the thing. A lot of these kinds of women who are raised this way, to not seek accountability, to not seek actual redemption and forgiveness for what they've done, because they don't believe that's their fault. Yeah. And that's the key. They don't believe that anything they do is.
They're ducking accountability from you while assuming that they have accountability with God. That's the scary part.
Well, but again, raised in a tradition where you don't think you sin, you don't think it's actually your fault. It's someone else's fault.
So the second fiance, the reason why I left her there's multi-layered reasons, but the typifying one was that while we were ready to commit and go on talking marriage plans, things like that, she stopped taking her birth control without telling me. I didn't find out until 2 months in that she's just been leaving that in the drawer and going about her business because it's baby time, whether I want it right now or not. And so I remember that I was born out of wedlock. My parents had me and they got married a year later. Okay. And I remember the shame I felt being a bastard most of my life. My father had 2 wives. His first wife he had 6 children with. And then I am the only one of my parents' relationship. And so they treated me as the bastard. They treated me as the child outside of marriage. I was given a special place away from them at every family reunion, Christmas party. My mother were off in the corner, completely exiled. Oh, you're here too? That kind of thing. When it was time to meet for dinner at some random thing, we were at the far end of the table while all the kids were gathered around him, completely isolating us. And they tried like hell to get their mom back with my dad. And it was always just battle between us and things like that. And I remembered that shame, and that's why I walked away from her. Because I said, I'm not going to bring that on my kid, that sensation of being not planned for, of being an accident, of being like a bastard born out of wedlock, that sort of thing. I'm not going to bring that on my kid. I want my child to know that it began with love and it ends with love.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
society.
allowed.
What is this video you're trying to show me, society? Before we spend too much time with this.
It's not even a video. It's just a photo. That's the husband of the woman from the
Hold on.
video.
We got to pull this up. This is the fun. This is the dirty socks Adidas slides getting dicked down by Chad, or I guess that'd be Tyrone in her case.
A white.
Oh fuck! God damn it! That's a nerd. Oh Lord Jesus, that's a nerd.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
And so there's multi-layers.
Is that Cornel West's grandson?
But I mean, this is why I mentioned at the very beginning, this is why you guys don't understand how much of a black pill this is for a lot of guys. Because this is a guy, like I said, did everything right. He was probably a fucking virgin, leading up to his marriage too.
He was a pediatrician, probably didn't have time for relationships.
Busted his ass for years to be successful, got a good high-paying job, and then this is his prize. That woman is his prize when it's all said and done, right?
Yeah.
And here's what I kind of look at this whole thing too, because I noticed this with a lot of the women who are making really, really bad takes this week on this whole situation, is that ultimately these are all women who have promiscuous past of their own, right? So when they see this random woman online getting heat for her promiscuous past, they're thinking about themselves. So they're trying to defend themselves through her. It's not even really about her and about her past and what she did.
Right.
They're trying to defend their own promiscuity through her, and that's what the whole argument is about. And then I started seeing women, and men and women, going as far to defend this chick by essentially chastising other virgins, not just men, but women too, saying that, well, yeah, just because she's a virgin does not mean that she's godly. Just because she's a virgin doesn't mean that she's going to be a good wife. So all of a sudden, we're now
True, but not the point we're making.
But the context is that they're now attacking virgin women, saying that, well, you guys just want this virgin, but that doesn't mean that this is the church, the so-called Christians in the church saying that, well, you guys want a virgin woman? What's wrong with you guys? It's
like, what are you, a pedophile? Because you want to marry an adult virgin? Ew.
You heard that. And I'm like, this is the church talking. So it's like, when, and then, you talk about the context of like sexless marriages. I've seen so many propaganda videos by so-called Christian content creators talking about, well, if your wife doesn't want to have sex with you, you just have to understand how she feels right about now, and blah, 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 yada, yada, all this nonsense is going on here. So then when we try to warn these same men who are in this dire situation, be like, hey, look, you don't want to end up like that guy. Here's the type of women you should avoid. Now all of a sudden, we're the incels. We're the ones who just hate women. And you're like, wow, this is the church talking. Like, it's one thing if it's just like random bozos on social media. You expect that from them. But these are supposed to be the quote-unquote leaders of the faith, and they're repeating the same. Like, we're in a bad spot right now.
That's what
I'm sorry, women, you made this happen. You told the church this is what you wanted. You told the church this was their you told the church this was their requirement for your presence. You made this happen yourselves. No one else twisted your arm to make you make this point and to make you draw this line. Nobody made you do this. Nobody would have judged you if you hadn't, because honestly, these are kind of the things that you have to, that are from a soul level. These are things that you yourself have to resolve in yourself. Putting it out on social media and trying to make a larger point is the wrong way to do it, because this is a conversation between you and God. It has nothing to do with anybody else, but you made it be about everybody else. Yeah. You do not get to decide how we respond to it. You do not get to decide how we react to it. You do not get to decide that our stories and our experiences don't matter because you decide they don't.
Yeah, well,
it would not work both ways. You don't get to do that to men anymore.
I wanted a couple of things. One, and this is one of the reasons I did this show, is I wanted younger guys. My audience is 25 to 35, so I wanted guys who don't have the same experiences that I have to still benefit from an awareness of what reality is. And here's the thing: if these Christian pastors had an awareness of reality, they would know the worst way to make a woman happy is to give her what she explicitly asks for.
Yeah,
because most people and anyone who's dealt with women knows this. If you give them what they ask for, they're gonna hate you. Like, it's just because they don't. Because here's the thing, and this is a human problem. This is not unique to women. Most people are terrible at guessing what's gonna make them happy, and they don't really know what they want because they lack self-awareness. That's a lot of people are like that. And women in particular, if you give them exactly what they say they want, a lot of times it ends in disaster. You got to just kind of understand the nature of what women are and give them what they need, not necessarily what they want. And that's tricky to know. One of the reasons I started this show and my other show is I wanted guys who don't have the same experiences that I have to still be able to benefit from that wisdom without having to collect a lot of bodies to get it. You know, I want these young guys that still have that ability to pair bond, that still have that ability to experience romantic love, to be able to get it, but also have the awareness of like, okay, when a woman says this, she's really saying is, I don't feel secure right now and I need a snack and a hug. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times she'll say one thing, but actually she's just like, why don't you just go then? And she doesn't want you to go. But she's saying that because she's just all mixed up.
That's what happened with my first fiance. Like, she brought me back, and then we split up, and then like a few weeks later, she called me and she says, "Hey, I'm wearing those see-through underwear that you like. You want to come over?" And I said, "No." Yeah, we broke up for a reason.
Yeah, well, and this is
We
this
all
is
have had these experiences.
yes,
Every
and this
single
is
one of us.
and
This
the
is not
fact
news.
that again, and the fact that so many men have had these experiences are so common is a sign that there's a conversation here that needs to be had, and it doesn't come from a place of hate, but it does come up from a place of we can't move forward with good relationships if we're not willing to talk about, say things that are true, even if they're a little bit uncomfortable. And we don't have to yell it, we don't have to curse, and we don't have to use harsh words. It's something Tertullian, the church father, said was, if you are going to criticize your wife, try to do it in the sweetest words you can manage, because they are sensitive. We get that, you know, but we got to be willing to be honest and say true things. Like the amount of pandering, it is not love to pander to someone. It's not kind and loving and Christian to pander and to lie to someone about reality. That's not compassionate just because it feels good. I also want to circle to what Samael the Infamous said right here, because this is really important. Something my ex-wife never understood. Love is not a feeling. Love is a sacrifice. It's a choice you make every day, sometimes every minute. And that is a big problem we're going right now. A lot of people, even people who are entering Christian marriages, particularly women, are doing it based on vibes, based on how they feel. You know, I watched a show recently, Blue Therapy on Netflix. Don't watch it. It's couples therapy, and the therapist always sides with the woman. It made me furious. I had to turn it off. But one of the things the woman said is, one of the women said was, I want to get married because it's the ultimate symbol of how much you love me. And it's like, that's not what marriage is. Marriage is an oath before God, you know, and unfortunately, I think a lot of even Christian marriages end up falling to this like secular idea that marriage is a big party you throw to show how much you love your girlfriend. It's like, that's not what it is at all. That's not what it is at all. You're making an oath before God that this is your partner, and you're gonna fucking, life is a team sport, and you're gonna tackle that shit together for better, for worse. You're gonna choose to stay in it. And sometimes it's gonna feel like shit. Everybody has been married for a long time. Sometimes they're scrapping. It just is what it is. Sometimes there were periods during that marriage where shit wasn't going well. Somebody lost a job. You know, a lot of people, like, the reality is during a miscarriage, a lot of marriages don't survive a miscarriage. Let's be honest. And that's a real thing that happens. Like, life gets hard sometimes. Sometimes money's tight. Sometimes the house burns down. The kids get into trouble, you know, whatever happens. Like, there's all kinds of stresses on the marriage. It may not feel like good vibes all the time. That's why it's supposed to be hard to break it up, right? Because you're supposed to work through that shit, you know. And I think a lot of for some reason, we've got to this point, even in the church, where a lot of women are doing this like vibes-based marriage. And I think men are like, well, it's on me to do whatever I have to do to fix it, to make her happy. And I got to give her whatever she asked me to do. Anyway, go ahead, Cider. You got something you want to say?
Well, no, let me tell you why that's happening, that vibes-based thing, okay? And I didn't know this until I was accosted by a Satanist woman. And so I didn't know she was a Satanist at the time. And so what happened is I was talking to this gal through one of those online dating places, and we had only just started talking. And she was a nice gal. We had talked. She was interested in me because at the time I was going through adoption class. I wanted to adopt a child because I want to be a dad, and I was just going to do it myself because screw it. And so she and I, for whatever reason, we ended up at the same outdoor concert. It's called Cosmic Convergence out here in the woods of Maine, believe it or not. And so I'm talking to an Indian guy. He's gone through the same thing I have, where we've had women just run off and just jump on any dick they could find. And she just walks up and rams her tongue down my throat. I don't know who she is, by the way, because I've only seen like the profile picture of her. I haven't seen her from every possible angle. So out of the darkness comes this woman, and she just starts Frenching me out of nowhere. And I pulled her off, and I was like, whoa. She introduces herself, and I'm like, oh, okay. Why? And she says, oh, you feel good.
Ooh.
But it gets worse, okay? And I asked her, I said, so that gives you permission to just walk up and
sexually
start
assault
Frenching
me,
me?
by the way. That's sexual assault.
She just started, and she says, no, I'm a Satanist. I was like, oh, good. But she explains.
I was worried there was a red flag or something.
Right. So she explains, my body is a temple, and I am commanded by the Satan to honor that temple with whatever it requires of me. And I am required by my master to serve whatever instinct comes to me because it comes from the temple.
Oh, fuck.
And that's why they act like that, because even though it's not Satanism, they're practicing, they all think like that because that's how they talk to each other. If he doesn't feel right, honey, don't have anything to do with him. If he doesn't push all the right buttons, he gives you the ick, it's time to go. And that's how they operate. I didn't realize that until that lady explained to me. Now, of course, hold on. She passed out at the party. I sat on the couch with her to make sure she didn't get molested. She woke up, ran off into the woods, and I said, okay, I'm out, bye. And I didn't chase her off into the darkness, so I didn't need to be a weekend sacrificial statistic, you know?
God damn.
I made that point on social media, too. It's like women for years have been talking about what gives them the ick, a.k.a. things that make men undateable. But the second that a man says, no, I don't want to date a whore, it becomes a 4-day discourse.
So far.
Well, the second a man
I need to cap
says,
this
you know,
off
I'd rather
before we
not
move
have-
on real quick, though. I need to cap this off because I didn't know this at the time, but I didn't know what her name meant, but she had legally changed her name to Ashley Bathory. And I didn't know the story of Elizabeth Bathory, but she had legally changed her name to that, okay? Now that story's over.
Oh, bullet dodge. Jeez.
Jesus.
Well,
All
well,
right.
you know, what you were saying though about the vibes-based, feelings-based stuff. That's how women sabotage each other's relationships. You're exactly right on that. Because all they have to do is say, "Oh," because what was that classic Doctor Who episode where David Tennant just whispers to a media person, "Doesn't she look a little tired to you?" And immediately everyone just piles on, like, and all of a sudden it creates doubt in everyone's mind as to this lady's capability as a leader. Women do that constantly for each other. Like, oh, I don't know. He just doesn't seem right. There's something off there. I don't know, honey. They do that. Even if they have no right to, even if they don't feel, because a lot of times if it's a group of single women, they don't want one of their friends going off and getting married because it ruins the dynamic. They don't want that. They resent her for finding somebody. So they will 100% sabotage each other's relationships to maintain the social dynamic. Because biologically, that's what they're supposed to do, and it's okay that we recognize that, so that we don't listen to it and take it seriously, and that women can recognize it within each other because they sin too. Shit like that is the reason why.
By the way, speaking of, lovely Sherry is here. Shout out to the 4%. We love you. I'm the rare few. I like a man taking control. We love that. Shout out to the 4%. But that's one of the reasons, by the way, people ask me why don't I ever give advice to women on this show, because the women who watch this show already know things. Like, there's nothing you guys, ladies, are doing great. You keep it up. Most of them are married, and the ones that aren't already have the shit figured out. So I have nothing to teach you. Go ahead.
Yeah,
You're doing great,
they're
sweetheart.
They're just telling you, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's correct. That's right.
So I have an internet daughter. She's not related to me in any way. I met her through live streaming, and I've never seen her face. I don't even know her real name. But we've talking for about 5 years now, and she just sends me messages about her life, asks my advice, shows off what she's doing. Right now she's on a Lego kick. But what happened was she sends me a message in the middle of the night, and she says, "My friends are pressuring me to have sex. I have my virginity, and I don't want to just lose it because I'm drunk." And I said, "Well, then just go walk away." And she said, "Well, I can't walk away from my friends." I said, "Why not? They're clearly not your friends if they're forcing you to do something." And I said, "Why are they?" And then I asked her, "Why are they doing it?" She says, "Well, they don't have their virginity anymore." I said, "Well, they have it. They're embarrassed that you've managed to hold on to something that they gave up for nothing." And sure enough, 2 days later, she messages me to tell me that she's lost her virginity because her friends got her drunk at a party and introduced her to a really cute guy, and they gave him the lowdown on everything he needed to know to get into her pants. They literally coached him into taking her virginity.
Yikes. This is what Scott also said. It's herd mentality.
Yep.
It really is.
It's from the hunter-gatherer thing. Women as gatherers had to have the alpha female and social dynamic in order to talk about berries and where the berries are and where the cougars in the bushes are hiding. Men had to form groups and find niche. Where do I belong in the hunting group? I obviously can't be the leader because there's a leader. What's my thing? Am I the good spear thrower? Am I the good mammoth mounter? What am I? For women, it was like, I got to find the alpha female, follow behind her because she's going to find all the berries. And it's still stuck in us. We're still in that lizard
Society.
brain.
What are you trying to pull up, Society? By the way, shout out to
This is actually kind of on point to what Cider was talking about, because me and Cider actually talked about this very post earlier this week. So one of these defenders of the whores out there, Gabriel Hughes, who has now blocked me.
The new Avengers.
Yeah, exactly, right? he posted this unironically, and let's say his attempt was to defend promiscuous women. He says that I knew a young man. Keep in mind, he claims to be a pastor of a church. I knew a young man who had two women who were deeply interested in him, both churchgoers. One pretty and pretty. One was a virgin. The other was a single mom. After much counsel and prayer, he married the single mom. Guess who his counsel was?
Yeah.
It was him.
Yeah,
he says he saw more godly character in her and too much vanity and pride in the other. So the only reason why he's telling you this is to essentially say that, oh, you can be a reformed harlot or a single mother and still be far more godly than a virgin.
Which, I mean, that's not the question.
No,
that's not the question of whether or not you should whether or not you should bed down, well, figuratively, whether or not you should attach yourself to the, for lack of a better term, reformed whore or the single mom. That's not the question we're asking. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about who's holier. But here's the thing: the fact that a lot of these male feminists are making this point for us is weird. The fact that they're the ones, and again, this goes back to the original post. The guy said what did the guy say? She's more pure than most virgins. That's what they're latching onto because that's what they want to believe. And it's not. I mean, your gradation of sin and your own personal holiness, it doesn't factor into it. Like, granted, that could have been true but that doesn't. It's not true for virgins and single moms overall. So just because this is weird that he counseled him that way. That's up to the guy to figure out. That's not up to.
They didn't counsel him, Strider. They bullied him. They bullied him into going after the single mom because they knew that they needed to get her married off because she's an anchor, dead weight, and she's not going to get anybody unless they hamstring some guy into doing it. Now, the reason why I dated the single mom was because I saw potential in her. This guy clearly had to be strong-armed into it because he didn't see that potential until he was forced to recognize a potential.
Counseled. He was counseled to recognize a potential.
Yeah. Well, let's not gloss over the fact. In all probability, this man's wife, this pastor's wife, and the single mom were probably in direct communication. Probably, oh, I know a great guy who you should meet. They were probably in direct communication, and so the pastor's wife probably fed him a huge sob story. Which, again, it is where I don't know this woman. We don't know the context, but this shit happens in the worst possible ways. Constantly, and the pastors and pastors' wives are never held to account for giving bad advice, coming only not from biblical knowledge, not from wisdom, not from understanding of the sinful nature of women, or just in general, but from emotional manipulation.
Yep.
And this is a big reason why a lot of young men are leaving the church. And this is the other underlining issue, because if they realize that many of them are that, okay, the church has become so feminized that this is the quote unquote best help I can expect from church leaders, then why am I even going here?
Right.
Yeah. Well, okay, this is really important. Mom, sorry. One thing I want to make sure I bring up before we wrap, which is one of the big things that was thrown back in the face of anybody who, like, society was, raising an objection to this, marrying somebody promiscuous, is like, oh yeah, well, I bet a lot of these incels who are mad at promiscuous women are addicted to porn.
Yeah, because those are the same.
Right. We're drawing a falsehood. By the way, no one is more, I don't think, well, maybe there's probably some people, but for the most part, I have been very clear and very public about my opposition to pornography, and I've encouraged men to quit as soon as you possibly can. Get that shit out of your brain and stop consuming it. I've said that over and over and over again on this show. However, I think we need to be clear that that's obviously a false equivalency, for one, and for two, like, porn is being, like, especially for Gen Z, porn was like funneled into their brains, from an early age, because it was like in your pockets on the phone now. It's crazy.
It's in all their media.
Well, there's two things to this one too. There's two reasons why they're trying to make this equivalency. Both of them are bad. One is because, like I said, the women who are promiscuous are trying to find some kind of way that they can levy their sins against men. So what they've done is that mentally they have equated their past, I slept with with 50 to 100 men before I met this guy to, oh, well, he watches porn, so you're no better than I am, right? And that's what they think. They think that a guy watching, and let's be honest here, talking about masturbation here, they think masturbation is on the same level of sleeping with 50 to 100 men. That's one aspect of it. The second one is even more egregious and more dangerous than that. The second one, the reason why they're trying to equate porn use to actual adultery or fornication is because women now think they can use that as grounds of sexual immorality they can use to divorce you in the court. So if they say, well, he has a porn addiction, he's cheating on me, quote unquote, I can go divorce this man and go get everything in the court of law and then basically bury that guy in God knows what. We're talking about, kids, property, whatever the case may be. But that's another reason why they're doing that, because they know they can use that as in the legal courts. And let's be honest, women tend to win more in the court system than men are. So that's a second reason, which is far more dangerous for men too. So it's wrong. Even biblically, it's wrong, because masturbation is basically the lust of the eyes, right? That's really what it comes down to. Is you're not being physical with an actual person, but you are lusting with your eyes. Fornication, meaning sleeping with other people, I don't know if you guys know this, but you're actually creating a bond and pairing with somebody, and that soul tie does not leave when you're done sleeping with that person. That is a permanent soul tie you're creating to that person, which means that there's a reason why fornication in the Bible is on a higher level than just the lust of the eyes. But like I said, we've muddied the waters for those two reasons, and that's why so many people actually believe that. That's why the counter to this whole thing is like, oh, well, you're watching porn, so you shouldn't be talking about these women. It's like, it's not the same thing. Even the Bible says so.
Before I got too sick, I used to talk to young men about this, okay? And although you might not believe me on it, all right, I did make sure that all those 14, that I actually felt love toward them. That they weren't just this cute pair of boobs and I decided to jump between them. I talked to them for 2 weeks before we ever met face to face. That was my rule. We texted, we messages for 2 weeks. That way there's no pheromones, there's no nothing. We're talking about what we like, what we don't like, what's going on during the day, so you get an idea of how the other person goes about their business and wants you to, communicate with them. And that way. But it is true. Whenever we sat down to do this, to have sex, I prefer to call it making love because you're supposed to call it. That's what it's supposed to be. When you sat down to do that, you are melting your souls together. That is the whole point of that act, because the union of two souls creates a new soul. Not that God's not creating a soul, but it offers the place for that soul to be. You're supposed to melt together. And that's something that just never clicked up to any of my partners. Even my first fiance just couldn't wrap her head around the idea that when you do that, you are melting your soul to another one. That's how it works. It's the whole reason why you get any feeling out of it more than what you get out of masturbation. That's why men seek to have sex as opposed to masturbate. If masturbation answered all the problems that you had as a man sexually, we would never seek out another partner. Our hand reaches down there, ladies. We would never seek you out if it solved everything we needed sexually. It doesn't, because we're supposed to have the emotional, soulful bond that goes with it. That's why pornography addiction is such a, it turns you into this Gollum monster. You're like the guy from Lord of the Rings living in a cave, because it destroys what you're supposed to be using that part of your soul to do. You're forming a bond with a sensation, not a person. And that's why I try to tell these younger guys when I was speaking to them about this, is that, yes, you want to get in that, especially if you've been there before. You want that feeling again. Of course, you're supposed to. That's the point of it. But the problem is that you can't get that same feeling again because you're not soulfully bonding with that person. Because as I said, first or second date is when you start fucking now. You don't get those 2 weeks. If you meet up for coffee, there's a 50-50 shot she's going to suck your dick in the parking lot. That almost happened with my third fiance, because I took her out to lunch, gave her flowers. She was ready to just ass over tea kettle in the back of my Mustang, dude. I was like, okay, we'll see each other a little later. I don't know you. I don't even know what kind of diseases you have, lady.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, by the way, being a redeemed whore does not take away herpes. So that's another reason.
What do you know? Kind of like the murderer that doesn't get out of jail. It's like the warden's like, son of a bitch, he changed sides. We got to let him go. Yeah, no, that whole thing. And again, what I tried to stress to these young guys was, when you want to have sex with a woman, pause. Ask yourself, is this someone you want to have sex with when neither one of you are recognizable to each other because you're old as fuck? When your neat little tattoo of Pikachu looks more like some horrific thing from a paranoia game.
Sonichu.
Right, when it just looks absolutely horrific to get naked, are you still going to want to have sex with this person? Are you going to love them beyond those jiggly boobies that you're seeing right now? And a lot of those guys said, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
I never thought beyond, wow, that's a nice pair of boobs, that's a nice butt. I never thought about it like that. And I said, you need to, because they're not. You need to think about this as a full package experience, not just the thrill of the whitewater rafting ride you're going to have with her in bed when that's over with, the 3-minute, the 2-hour thing you're going to do with her. You've got to be able to love her when, only your grandkids are going to love her. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to look at that lady and be like, damn, you came from a Hansel and Gretel poem, didn't you?
Women also need to understand that same thing too. You're not just marrying one aspect of a man. You're marrying his past, his present, his future. You're marrying, like, you're choosing to be with and tie your soul to a lot of good and bad in equal measure, because he's a human being. And a lot of women sadly don't see themselves as human beings with their own imperfections. They're very bad. As much as they may like whinge and moan about men should be more empathetic, they are very, very bad about being empathetic themselves. They don't put themselves in our shoes. We are so, and it's weird how much we've been programmed to believe this. We are so much better at sympathizing with people than women are, because we can separate our cognition from ourselves and put it into somebody else's shoes and imagine what that may look like. Women cannot do that. Women really cannot. Either they can't, or they don't choose to, or it's much easier for them to choose not to, because everything you said, Cider, was 100% true. When you're with somebody, when you're making that commitment to somebody, you are with the good and the bad. Hopefully you're choosing someone where the good outweighs the bad, but there are going to be days when the bad outweighs the good. But are you willing to remember who that man is in the good, in the bad times? Remember the good that he does for you. Remember everything good about that made you fall in love with him. Are you going to be able to remember that? Are you going to be able to shut your feelings down in the present and remember in the past when he's come through for you, and remember the promises he's made to you in the future and all the ways he shows up for you today? It may not be what you want, but is it what you need? It may not be everything that you imagined it to be when you were 6 years old, because it's a fantasy. It's ridiculous. What did you know at 6 years old? But you need to put that aside and be in a relationship like an adult. That's what adult relationships do.
Let me give you the key word that these Christian marriages and all these relationships are really missing, and the church probably isn't going to talk about this because it implicates women too. The word is trust. We don't have it in our relationships anymore. Women don't trust men because they're told from birth that the man's going to be a Homer Simpson idiot. If you leave him alone with the kids, you'll burn the house down and kill the kids. They're told, men on the other end, we're told that women are going to jump ship as soon as things get rough. A lot of the times they do. I've lived through it. And so we walk into this from zero, expecting the worst possible outcome, and then it's why the court system was always built on innocent before proven guilty, but we're moving into all of this with guilty until proven innocent. And this is the hard part about this, especially as a man with sexual history and relationship history, is that you expect them to behave as the women before. Now, with women, they don't go blank slate either. But the problem is they say, well, Chad used and abused me, so will Todd. So I'm going to treat Todd the way that Chad treated me, so I don't get treated bad again. Yeah, and that just keeps repeating.
No, this is I was just talking about this on my show yesterday, on my solo show, Theocracy. I'll also tune into that, you viewers. I was just talking about this. I used to live in San Diego, and so a lot of my activity out there was with San Diego girls, and I ran into a bunch of girls that were mean to me because whatever Navy SEAL they just got done having sex with had abandoned them, and he wasn't there because those dudes are wild, man. And there's naval base out there.
You gotta be if you're gonna go through your life.
Yeah, those are wild motherfuckers.
They could die. They could die tomorrow. They live like James Bond, and no power to them, but that's a risk there.
Yeah, and so there were so many girls I ran into that it wasn't always a Navy SEAL, but it was something like that, where the guy they wanted to be mad at, sometimes it was their dad, sometimes it was the guy who abandoned them. He wasn't there anymore to be mean to, so they were just shitty to me because I was there, and I was like, damn, okay, fuck, all right, fuck you too then. And so what do? I go find some other sweet girl that thinks I'm a good, innocent guy, and I treat her like garbage because fuck you, bitch. And now we're perpetuating the same cycle. It's making the world hurt. This is what I'm saying. 100%. The only way to stop this shit is individually we have to. I'm a bottom-up thinker. I'm not a top-down thinker. I do some of my best thinking from the bottom. Pause. What I'm saying is, do not clip that, by the way. Don't fucking clip that, by the way.
It's already too late.
Listen.
There's some second tier MSK channel that's already clipped.
So you were talking about being on the bottom there.
Listen, hold on. What I'm saying,
I knew you were angry with women, but I mean, come on, man. I've never been that angry with women. Jeez.
Lord, have mercy on this stream. We are but mortal men, Lord. Please have mercy on this stream.
Just holding me to the prayer, I am gay and retarded.
What I'm trying to say, folks, is the only way we fix this, and we got to fix our individual behavior. This is kind of what Cider's been getting at. Like, listen, we have to just stop. And this is the thing I learned. Look, I live in Las Vegas, okay? A lot of the women I meet because of comedy are in entertainment and nightlife. And the reality is, a lot of these women, you could talk to them for about 20 minutes, and no matter how beautiful they are, you talk to them for about 20 minutes, and they will disqualify themselves. It will be really clear. But you got to do that, and you got to talk to them. You can't just be like, hey, good looking, what you got cooking? And
you want some dick?
Intent. You have to actually talk to them like a human and look at them with some curiosity for like that first 20 minutes, and usually they'll disqualify themselves in some way.
It's really easy to spot.
And it's very easy to get through, because here's the thing. Because women don't understand that anything they do can be offensive to a man, they'll just do offensive things. Like, I was talking to a woman that I still consider to be a friend in the comedy community. She's a nice gal, you know, but like every conversation I've ever had with her, she's flipped into retard speak, the patriarchy and we as women and disqualified. Thank you very much. I was out on Halloween. I was chatting up a nice girl, very nice looking girl, lovely woman, was giving me indicators of interest for those of you familiar with the concept. Very sweet woman, seemed like a real nice gal. She said, oh, what's that tattoo you've got? Because I'm not like I know society, you're no tattoos. I'm not completely against tattoos, but I'm also ran through. So I'm willing to, tolerate a little bit of that, whatever, maybe she's a nice girl. What's your tattoo? Oh, it's Medusa. It's the symbol of empowerment for women. And I'm like, all right, thank you. It was real nice talking to you. You take care.
I got the sigil of Bosman on my record.
Head off. Yeah, well, and here's the thing. I wasn't mean to these girls. But I silently in my head put them in a category of like, oh, okay, I'm not going to escalate this relationship. That would never happen, because unless you significantly changed your ideas. And here's the thing. I'm past the point in my life. I'm 34 years old now. I'm too damn old to be out here meeting a woman and being like, oh, well, she's got a great set of jugs, so I bet I can like bully her into going to church with me eventually. Like, no, fuck that. Like, you either
come on, honey, bring your sin pillows to church.
No.
Well, we've all had a story of someone who we thought was a good girl. Then she started talking. We realized that she wasn't. I have an infamous story of a girl who, about a decade ago in San Diego. I thought that, we had something there. Then she talked about her past, and I now refer to her as cocaine panties. And if you want to know the specifics of why I refer to her as that.
That took a turn. That went.
She told a group
Tuesday in Vegas.
She told a group full of people at a Friendsgiving event about one time where she slept with her boss, who ripped her panties right off of her bum and then snorted a line of coke off of her butt. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, dude, bro, can I tell you something? I'm going to tell you guys. I'm going to tell a story. You guys have been sharing so many stories. I don't tell a lot of personal stories, but I kind of like speak in implication. But I'm going to tell a story of something that happened kind of recently. I met a real nice gal. Or what I thought was a real nice gal at a comedy show, and she hit me right in my weak spot. She told me, she was like, Theo, you are so funny and talented. And that's right in my weak spot. I can't do that. I folded and I was like, I understand that, but listen, you got to understand, sweetheart. I don't have strange women at my house because I'm Christian and I'm a Catholic. I take that very seriously. So I'm celibate. So I got to get to know you as a person. I don't have strange women at my house. It's too tempting. And she said, that's crazy because I'm a Christian and I'm on my celibacy journey too. An hour later, I swear to God, that's how she got me. That's how she got me. That's how she got me. Because I was like, because here's the thing.
You muted yourself.
You muted yourself. Getting good.
No, it is like how weak I am, weak and desperate. Because here's the thing, I want you guys to know that I'm weak and desperate too. I'm just like you people. I am not better. I have these. Because I'm touch starved. I'm like, I want human connection. And in that moment, my brain went, oh, this is shared values. You have shared values with this woman. That's what you've been looking for. You should go for this. And then I was like, no, you fucking idiot. You told her what to say to get in your pants. That's what you did. You gave her the keys. You told her what to say because you were, babbling about yourself, and she was like, I want to fuck this guy. How do I make that happen?
Notes. Go on. Notes.
It was just me. And that's the thing. It's like, so as much shit as I talk about being aware about how women are and being aware that you can be manipulated as a guy and all this stuff, I still fell for the, wow, you're so funny. That's not even a hard one. That's like the most obvious thing a woman would think to say to me. Right.
You're a comedian, so I'll just compliment you on your comedy.
Yeah.
Imagine being on a date with a woman. Things are going well. At least you think things are going well. You're out there buying ice cream, and then she mentions it halfway in the, like, when you're in line, like, by the way, I have a date with another guy, like, in like 30 minutes. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, thinking to myself, it's like, okay, yeah, I'll get her number. We'll see. And then it's like, literally, like, the next by, oh yeah, by the way, I got another date later on this night.
God damn it, right? Well, and then in comedy, what you run into a lot. I'll do one more of these and I'll get back to Cider because I know you got good stuff. The thing is, like, a lot of this shit, man, it's like you'll be with a girl and then it'll be like you'll kind of get to know her, and then she'll be like, she'll start telling you about all the other comedians she's had sex with, and then it's like, no, I know that guy. Don't tell me that.
She gives you
that guy tomorrow.
She gives you enough. She gives you enough to make you think, okay, maybe she is different than the rest. And then the bomb drops, and she never knows what the bomb is, but you know what the bomb is, and then at that point, it's done.
Dude, and it's like,
but that's important. But this is important. These are the kinds of stories that are important that other men need to understand, especially in the church. If she does drop a bomb like all of this, and it may not be such drastic things like, oh, I have another date, or my boss snorted cocaine off my ass. It may not be something that obvious, which is just disgusting. It may not be that obvious, but there are things that a prospective woman can say that immediately will raise a red flag for you. Then it's important that you hold frame and do not refrain from that. Do not hide from that. Do not deny that. Your brain, your big brain, your little brain is going to tell you that you can work through it. No, you can't. If it bothers you, it bothers you, and that's okay. You do not have to give up that for a woman. No woman is worth your peace and worth your well-being and your future. Trust me on that. There was, and I remember there was one. Like for me, now that we're sharing like weird stories, it is not near this drastic, but it's still important to me because there in my distant family, there are some criminal elements in my family that are a matter of public record. I would rather them not be revealed. However, I was on the last girl that I was on a date with, and this is what made me cancel every dating app and everything. And Theo, shout out to you for helping me come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
But she had mentioned the fact that she had Googled my name. And my last relationship ended because of that, because a woman had found my family through something. There was a lot of digging, had found the criminal element in my family and broke up with me because of it. It was bullshit. But this other woman had done the same thing. Now, granted, she wasn't, but it came. I don't think it came from a place of just flighty boredom like the other one did, but it did certainly come from a place of insecurity, and that was kind of like it immediately just set off my nervous system. Immediately just made me freaking mad because the fact that because this is kind of what I have to deal with now in the out here in the dating world, and freshly divorced. I've been divorced for 2 years this summer. I don't know what I'm doing out here. I am brand new to this thing. I've been with the same woman for the past 10 years and only out here, but that really bothered me. So I listened to that and I followed that and I just like broke it off that we're not going to have any more contact after that. I was really nice about it. And there were other reasons too, but that was immediately set me off. Those things do matter. But it also helped me understand that, especially because we all just delete our dating apps. We need to delete the dating apps because here's why. When you can't, it's someone like me and someone with a lot of our people in our past here. We've been burned. We've been mistreated. We've been, browbeaten. We've had all sorts of terrible experiences with women. This happens because we're trying to date strangers. We're trying to go online and trying to date strangers. And there's immediately a bunch of distrust there. And that's what a lot of the church is telling us to do is go to church and date strangers. Now, granted, it's a little bit different. And just date strangers without any thought towards consequences, with absolutely no wisdom attached to it whatsoever. The key is you've got to get to know a woman, get to know a woman intimately, like not nakedly, but you still get to know a woman very intimately and deeply before you even get to that point of wanting to date her, because those kinds of things do matter. You need to figure out that you are on the same page, that you do have shared values, that her behavior, past or whatever, is not going to be an issue. It is not going to be an issue in your present, because those issues in your present are going to be issues in your future. How small they are now could blow up into something bigger, but it could not. You take your life in your hands every time you go out dating somebody. And so that, to me, I was like, you know what? I need to go find somebody in my circle who I can actually get to know, who is not going to look me up online, who is not going to come from a place of distrust, who is not going to immediately believe that I'm lying, but actually know me and know me well enough to know that, hey, maybe this guy is somebody I want to date. I don't know. I haven't found her. I probably won't. But it's still important that men hold that frame and do not deviate from the things that make us feel, from the things that there's the red flags that we're finding, because those will exist and that's okay.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and go through the chat real quick while we're jaw jacking here. Samael, another beggar. Without trust, family dies. No family, no future. And we are living through a low trust moment between men and women right now. We got to have that trust. And guys, we got to have that trust before you get sexually involved with a woman. Because once you get sexually involved with a woman, all that, you start forgiving red flags real quick if that pussy's hitting. Let's just be real. Like, you start overlooking stuff like, oh, yeah, I'm sure that won't be a problem. Yeah, because it's like, because you're invested now.
And that doesn't go away after marriage either.
Yeah, big time. Let's see. And it's like best thinking on the bottom in the shower at the beach. All right. I think you guys are taking that out of context. Let's see. Let's hear. Oh, dang, them titties are so good. Made me listen to astrology. Yeah, I got to watch out, gentlemen.
Let me give you a very innocuous 123neattrick.com. Okay, let me give you a really neat one that you can just do this and know if this woman's going to be a problem for you. Okay, all right. Ask her what her astrological sign is. 1, if she knows what it is, that's already a problem. 2, if she has like all the numbers and the setting sun, rising moon, all that jazz, run. It's over. She's never going to believe in God because she's convinced that the stars determine her fate. Okay? So just go.
Charizard, whatever.
Like here's
Pull
the
the
thing.
eject button and leave.
This is why the projection is so hilarious, because these people are under the mindset that the reason why we don't like women is because we just never had any experience with women. It's like, no, we had experience with that. That's why we're here, right?
Oh, I liked women before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I actually liked women more before I started.
Yeah, right?
Isn't that just a woman thing to say? Oh, you must have not have met any real women. Like, what a gaslighting bullshit thing to say. It's like, no, I've actually had experience, and that's why I'm so nervous around you. That's why I'm treating you like the enemy, because the people that I've met show me that you're the enemy. It's like, we don't do this for no reason.
Theo, you were in San Diego for a while. Have you ever experienced the woman who tried to sleep with you while her husband was on deployment?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's like that's what black pilled me on marriage was how many women were out here married and acting single because their dude was out of town, he was in the military, whatever it was, and they were just doing dirt
Piers Morgan.
back. Yeah, yeah, big time.
Oh, bad.
Big time. We did a whole show on that. Yeah, That's but hold on, Cliff Anderson makes a good point. By the way, shout out Alpha Omega, friend of the channel. He's here. Then Cliff Anderson makes a great point. But the random woman online said trying to date at church was creepy. That is something that we've seen too. That was part of the discourse that kind of got overwhelmed by this other gal. Was there were a lot of women on Twitter, before this thing blew up, is trying to date at church acceptable? And that's one of the things that has really fucked us, in our efforts. Because one of the things, I'm very anti-dating app. This show is explicitly anti-dating app. We got to get off the dating apps. It's a losing proposition for men for a number of reasons, and it's bad for human relationships. A bad way to get started. But one of the things that has happened is as we have moved towards this like post-Me Too style of society where anything that makes a woman vaguely uncomfortable or could potentially make a woman vaguely uncomfortable is evil and has to be eradicated. There is no place. You can't meet women at the gym. That's creepy. You can't meet women at Starbucks. You can't meet women at Target. You can't meet women at the club. You can't meet women at the bar. You can't meet women at church because that's not the place for that.
Hey, you know why you can't?
Even though they're half naked drinking and hitting on men, you're not supposed to hit on. You're not supposed to meet women at the bar.
Yeah, and you know why you can't do that? Because they're all the same woman now. That's
why,
dude.
That's the thing. That's what, and this is the problem. I think a lot of guys who
are we, ladies?
A lot of Boomer and Gen X guys, when I have these conversations, they're like, well, why don't you just be? It's like because they're kind of so. It's not that they're all like that, because I have met women who were like decent enough, who were like trying to like make their way in the world, but most of those girls are inside. Like the truth is, like women that are out and about. I've met so many of them, and it doesn't seem to matter where they are. They've all got something at this point. They've all got something that is like really disqualifying. And I'm not saying that from a position of like, oh, I'm perfect. I know I bring my own baggage into relationships. I sure do. I know that better than anybody. But like, we got to be honest here. Like, it's really hard. First of all, meeting people. There was a worldwide campaign to make flirting illegal, and then now women are like, "Why aren't men hitting on us anymore? What happened to that?" And
touch a boob. Remember that video?
Yes.
Well, anyone remember Gillette? The best a man can get, just like demonizing everything a man ever does, and making men that making
boys
men
will be boys.
Yeah, dude, and it's like, what's crazy is like the men that I talk to a lot of men about these issues. I've talked to a ton of women about these issues, and I've talked to a ton of men about these issues. I've done at this point the equivalent of like hundreds of street interviews, just hanging out after comedy shows and talking to people because I always ask them about this. The impression I get from men is that it's not that they hate women. I don't meet a lot of men that I feel like genuinely hate women. Not zero. But it's not that what I get from men is they want to form relationships with women. They want to get along with women better, and they genuinely do not know how. They don't know how to get that done in the current meta. And what I get from women is that a lot of what I hear from women is men are garbage, all men cheat, blah, blah, blah. And so a lot more hatred is coming the other way, despite the projection that like men hate women, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that I learned, I talk to these women, and my advice to women is always the same. Have you tried fucking men who like you? Right? Like that's always, because if you're dating a guy who likes you, then you're not going to have a hard time getting a hold of him. You're not going to have a hard time. He's going to plan dates. He's going to take initiative. He's going to take you out. So if you're dating a guy who isn't doing any of those things, which she interprets as playing hard to get, he likes me just as much as I like him. He's just playing hard to get. If you're having a hard time getting a hold of him, he just doesn't like you very much. And if you're continuing to have sex with him, even though he doesn't like you very much, then he doesn't have any reason to commit to you. So you got to just date men who like you. And the reality is you may not like the men who like you as much. Like they might not be as the guy you can get to commit to you is probably not as attractive in the bad boy sense as the guy that you can get sexual access to because of like dating apps and Instagram and just the way we've defaulted into this like sloppy polygamy model now where, you know, some guys have a ton of access and a lot of guys get zero. And one thing I meet more and more and more, I'm meeting guys who are just burnt out, it's not that a lot of the guys, it's not that they can't get a woman to go on a date with them. It's just that the women they can get to go on dates with them, they're just like, oh, fuck this shit again. I can't. I can't
because
do it.
every
Sorry.
woman you go on a date with, you're right back to square one. And after doing that for a number of years, you just get tired.
I know you're talking to her, and then she's like, da 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 da. My divorce, my abortion, da 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 da. Oh, don't worry, I'm fine. I didn't da da da, but I had to find myself. Da, 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 and now
You don't support Trump, do you?
Yeah, fuck, dude.
Oh yeah, baby, let's go. Oh,
All right,
guess what? I
dude.
support Israel.
I got
I
a
had
closer for you.
No, I had trouble for I was doing great with a woman, and then she heard me call women broads, and then she still fucked me after that, but she was upset about it. I mean,
She was upset the whole time, I'm sure.
No, but that's the thing. Women will do shit like this, and then we'll do shit like that, Theo. And you just called women broads, and they'll still hop on it.
Yeah.
And then they want. Why aren't men marrying the whores? My past doesn't matter. I'm in church now. Like, shut up. It's okay for people to have preferences.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know, and it's like what sucks, and one of the reasons like we have to start saying no to women that are not being virtuous, because the truth is there are a relatively small number of virtuous, but you can meet them, they're just like hard to find. And when you meet them, a lot of the women that I've met who are not in the streets, who are not out here doing dirt, they are just absolutely shit disgusted with men, because everywhere around them they see men dating and marrying whores, right? And so the more attention you give to that promiscuous behavior, the more it's rewarded, and they're going to keep doing what gets rewarded. So when you talk to that woman who's like got her whole titties out at the bar, you just told her the way to get men to talk to me is to have my whole titties out at the bar. When you have a sexual relationship with that woman who's saying we as women and patriarchy and you're saying that doesn't matter. That's not a deal breaker for me. In fact, you're implicitly agreeing, whatever you say, baby. As every time you nod along when she's like, right, women are oppressed. You're telling her that's not a deal breaker for you. And so remember, if you follow through and you marry a woman who thinks like that, that's a woman who might abort your child. That's a woman who might try to trans your kid later, Like that's what you got to think about this long term. And that's a woman who does not believe in a Christian model of marriage. Remember, she believes that she should be in charge and your job is to make her happy. Like you got to think about how this is going to affect you long term, not just in the jiggly short term, Like, and this is hard, especially for young guys, and I feel bad for the young guys now because like so many of the women are fully TikTok brained. But I think, like I said, that you've got to master the 20-minute interview. Like in that first 20 minutes, if she's like, I have 7 kids by 7 different men and men ain't shit, then you're like, oh, okay, well then it was nice to meet you. Don't be mean. Don't be aggressive, but it was real nice to meet you, sweetheart. You take it easy. God bless. I'll be praying for you. And then you just get to step it.
While they're hissing at you for saying that. I have a closer.
You don't want me. You don't
Go ahead.
What's
Go
the
ahead,
video?
Cider. Okay.
I was just making a joke. Like,
What are the videos that we have here? I want to get to these. Okay, so Society, you got something. Cider, do you want to go first, or Society, do you want your video first?
Mine's a good closer.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go with mine's first. Mine's just funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus advocating for retarded sinners.
Yes.
There's my best friend. That's the man that I love. I love him like he's my brother.
That's why I always say this prayer. It was in the chat earlier, but I always say this prayer: Lord, forgive me. Or I think Strider said, Lord, forgive me, for I am evil and retarded. That is every single day we got to say that prayer, because we're out here fucking up too. We're not like, none of us on this panel are claiming perfection. No. We're all doing the same dumb shit as everybody else. We're just trying to share information. That's what's going on.
We're aware of the dumb shit as we keep doing it.
Like, yes. Yeah. And so it's like, what I'm trying to do, if you're, a young man who's, watch the show and maybe you don't have that experience, take all of this consolidated wisdom and apply that as you search for someone. You don't have to be promiscuous to get this experience now. You don't have to, do all that. You could just kind of like take that forward, and you don't have to be fooled by someone who's just because your pastor says that the ex OnlyFans model is going to be a great wife someday, you don't have to buy into that, actually.
No, just remember, women are people too. Women are
Big
just
time.
as evil. Women are just as good. Women are just as flawed. Women are just as They're people too. Women can be angels. Women can also be monsters, just as much as men can. And and unfortunately, and a lot of the church wants to make us believe that women are angels and they don't sin, and their preaching implicitly puts that into their minds. Because how many times have we heard? I have said this before. How many times have we heard a sermon extolling a male sin? How many times have we heard a sermon extolling a female sin? That tells these women, especially in church, you need to be very careful. It tells these women in church that you are perfect, you do not sin, you're angels. And the men have to earn your love. The men have to be, you are the prize, you are the trophy. Even though the women will say, you're putting me on a pedestal. Well, your environment puts you on a pedestal and you let yourself stay there. Yep. So women are people too. Treat them like it. And just because it doesn't work out with one woman, doesn't mean it won't work out with the next. It's, relationships are always good to try to find. Good, godly relationships or holy relationships are always something you should look for. Just because we've had bad experiences, just because you've had a bad experience, does not mean that you're destined for doom. That does not mean that you cannot redeem yourself. It does not mean that, especially in women watching this too, if you do have a promiscuous past, nobody here is judging you for that. If you have made legitimate changes in your life to redeem yourself from to be redeemed from that. If you have chased that down, that's wonderful. Keep going. And maybe you might find somebody that's okay with that, who is wise enough to see the changes that you've made and not hold you to your past. But also remember, there are going to be people on social media who are just there to troll you. There are people on social media who are just there to take a big steaming shit on you. A lot of them are red pillars. A lot of them are from whatever podcast or Fresh and Fit. That's the whole reason they exist. Those people do exist. Do not take them seriously. Always seek redemption. Always seek a righteous life. And if you're consistent in that, maybe you'll find somebody. We may not find on this panel. We may not find anybody that we can be with after our experiences. And you know what? All right. Sounds good. I'll live the best life I possibly can. But if we meet somebody, that'd be great. But we don't hate you because of your past. Just don't throw it in our faces and get mad at us when we prefer something different. But continue to seek righteousness. What this whole thing's about. It's okay.
Oh, that's great. Let's go to Cider's video because I want to see what we got here. Let's see what we got.
Fellas, is it gay to kiss a girl? I mean, you're literally kissing someone who likes dick. Fellas, is it gay to drink water? I mean, the male body is literally 70% water. You're literally deep-throating another man.
Yeah, but has that water come from another man?
Fellas!
That's the important question.
Is it gay to look in the mirror?
Right, okay.
I mean, you're literally checking out a man's body.
Yeah, but it's your own.
Fellas!
It's fine if it's
Is
your
it
own.
gay to make money? I mean, you're literally collecting pictures of other men.
I'm scared.
Fellas! Is it gay to masturbate? I mean, you're literally touching a dick. Fellas! Is it gay to see? I mean, you're literally observing in a world with lots of dick.
Blue, I'm going to kill you.
Fellas! Is it gay to be a man? I mean, you're literally walking around with a dick attached to you. Fellas! Is it gay to breathe? I mean, you're literally inhaling dick particles.
There you go.
That's a great one. That's great. All right, folks. Well, with that, we're going to wrap up the show. This has been an awesome panel discussion. Let's go around the horn. Strider, where can the good people find you?
Yeah, check me out on my Twitter account below, and later tonight I'll be on Iron Oxide's channel. We're going to be doing the weekly Rogues Gallery. Going to have a blast.
All right, very cool, very cool. Society, I know you've got a lot of stuff going on. Where can people find you?
Society Reviews on YouTube. We do the Bible Ends on Sundays. We do the Bar Rooms on Tuesdays, which might be moving Fridays. And then I'm also doing a series called Digimon Revelation. I just released a new episode this morning. I got another one probably later tonight if I can get it done pretty quickly. So I'm working on that series here now. I'm like 40% done with the series already. So there we go.
Righteous.
Great. And Cider, welcome. This is very awesome. Love to have you back again. Great discussion. Where can the good people find you?
Under a rock. I'm around. You can message me. Eventually, I'll get back to you whenever Elon's app decides to update and allow me to see the message that you sent me. I just get around. Not that like that anymore. Not like that. But if you need me, you know where to find me. Cider Hype on X, wherever it's called now, and sorry, it's not some thrilling like check me out in Hollywood, guys. It's just, just a dude.
Fantastic. All right, folks. Thank you very much. I'm your host, Theo Snodgrass. Please follow me on YouTube. That's the best place to get a hold of me. Follow me on the rest of my social medias as well. And with that, we're going to close out the show. Please enjoy the intro to my other show, Theocracy, as the outro to this show. Thank you very much.